Hello, welcome to another live stream with me, Christian Rauchenwald, on this beautiful Tuesday. As always, we are going to take a look at GameStop and doing our best to apply Elliott wave theory to it, which, like you can learn by reading that book, which you can get by using the link in the description down below, and you can also read it for free online. Now, yesterday, I think today we have some catching up to do, because yesterday we were also playing around with a different software. Usually we use something called wave basis. I'm gonna push a button so we actually, or you guys actually see the screen. Yep, great. So usually we use wave basis, and there we have some old labeling for a potential worst case scenario. And I also wanted to show you guys motive wave, which yesterday I was struggling because we were not able to find the, I'm just gonna hide the webcam right now. We were not able to find the Elliott wave tools in motive wave, and as so often the issue was in front of the computer. Apparently I signed up for motive wave a couple of years ago for their free version, and yesterday when I tried to reset up everything, I somehow entered the license code from the free version instead of entering the one for the ultimate edition. And that's why the tools were not available. Now, I played around a little bit yesterday, and I also played around a little bit today. Oops, sorry, trying to get the microphone right. And have to say, like, while I'm still not a fan of the 1985 look of the software in general, the more I play around, the more I like it. Obviously, there's a difference between paying $50 per month for wave basis, which has already its use cases, and has some nice features, especially when somebody is just starting out with Elliott wave theory, like, for example, showing the predicted area for a retracement of a wave 2 or wave 4, the profit targets for a wave 3, if we zoom out here, and escape. So somewhere up in the thousands, still unchanged. And also having an auto count feature where we can mark an area and it will try to label it properly. And being able to have multiple wave degrees, as we see here. So that would be one wave, and then what's labeled in between would be a wave of a lower degree, so a wave within a wave, and so on. So there are some reasons why wave basis is already great, in my opinion. However, one of the downsides of wave basis is every time, first of all, we're limited, especially on the $50 plan, we can only have 3 tabs open. Now within those tabs, we could open additional charts, but then the screen gets crowded quite fast. And the problem is, if we place a labeling here on this chart, and then because we run out of tabs, we want to look at, I don't know, Apple or something else, and then change back to GameStop, pretty much all the time our labeling is gone. So it's like, there are some upsides. It's browser based. You don't have to worry about where the tick data, so the actual information where the price is moving, is coming from, and so on, and so you have everything in one place. Whereas motive wave requires you to also set up your data source, where you can use Google as a data source for historical data, which means you will not have real-time data or even delayed data. It will probably just work for everything that's older than, I don't know, maybe 24 hours. On top of that, we can see that in this workspace currently, I've configured bar chart, which is a paid service and which costs $59 or $69 per month to basically get the information about US stocks, plus for having longer history. So for example, if we just paid at $59, we only get the GameStop history till 2008. If we want to have more details, so the full history till 2003, you also need to subscribe to the US indices, which costs a little bit more. So it's like $10 more for that. And basically, the more markets you want to monitor, the more expensive it gets. Now, I also linked my Binance and Coinbase Pro accounts here. Not that it matters, because we're not looking at crypto in here, but maybe we'll in the future, and Google as an alternative. Now, what's interesting is, if I got it right, here we currently have Apple. So one of the difference between wave basis and motive wave With the $60 plan from bar chart, we can monitor 200 assets at the same time, so have real-time updates of the tickers. And when we switch between charts, the labeling still stays there. And it goes even further. In wave basis, we kind of like would, I'm gonna delete that. We would label an impulse wave, like maybe say from here till here, where we may not know yet where wave 2 is, and then we could drill down. So we can right click and drill down and say, okay, we now want to drill down on the, I don't know, 15 minutes time frame, and it would open the 15-minute time frame and basically try to label the subwaves, or we could now label the subwaves in here. So which is already great. However, I think motive wave takes it a little bit further, because here, while you now see, okay, there's I labeled a wave 0 from up the low in March, 1, 2, and you already also see another 1, 2, although the starting point of that 1, 2 is a little bit wrong in that case, yeah, trying to zoom. Oh no, it's fine, yeah, so we have another wave labeled here 1, 2, but when I zoom out, you see that the blue waves disappear, and when I zoom in, they appear. So you can, for each element that you put on the chart, you can regulate on which time frame it should be visible. So if we zoom in further here, which should, okay, we might have to manually select it, but if we jump to the 5-minute time frame, for example, you can see that there is also more labeling. So labeling of the subwave here and a trend channel that's not visible on the higher frames. I'm not sure yet if with bar chart we will actually see the order book, so how many shares are sold or bought at what price level and so on. Curious, we will know that in a few minutes. Yeah, and because I was playing around with motive wave, not wave basis, motive wave, I actually didn't find the time to write an updated post on Superstonk or on Reddit, but I will likely do that today. Once we've labeled everything properly. But so far, well, as mentioned yesterday already, I'm not a fan of that old look. Now that I've finally entered the right license key, we have all the tools available. And as you can see, we also have labeling for triangles, 9-wave triangles, pretty much for everything. And the beauty of wave basis, what I mentioned yesterday but couldn't show because we were not using the right version, is that, for example, so again, like in not wave basis of motive wave, in wave basis, if we've labeled something and then I decide to use the auto label feature on an area, yeah, I'm not sure if, let's see if I can, then it basically deletes the other labeling, yeah, and which kind of is annoying. Let's say we already know for quite certain parts of the chart, but we struggle with another part. It would require us to open a new chart, use the auto label there, and then manually add whatever it comes up with on our current chart. And within motive wave, it's actually really, really great because this chart is already quite labeled, so it's going to be tricky. But one of the things that's really great is if I, for example, move this wave 3, and I move it down here, you can see that it suddenly says wave 3 does not complete beyond the termination of wave 1, and wave 4 terminates before the end of wave 3. So it tells you, okay, that's not valid labeling. Yeah, and that's really one of the nice parts. I'm not sure if it enforces all the rules of Elliott wave theory, so if it warns you of every rule violation, but it's already great that it does. And on top of that, for example, when it comes to subwaves, where within if we zoom in here, or actually let's close one. So in wave basis, although I really still like wave basis considering the price point, but let's say we label a wave 1, 2 like this, and then we label another, I don't know, yeah, see it picks the starting point here, blah, blah, blah. So it lets us do things like this, yeah, which obviously isn't valid because there's no structure where this orange wave, first of all, that's a violation. And second of all, if at all, we would have a wave that goes from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and ends to complete this wave 1. In wave basis or in motive wave, when I delete this here, for example, and I delete that one here for now, and I also delete the channel, and I'm gonna add a new wave, and I pick the same starting point, then basically it already shows me when I try to place the next point somewhere, okay, you're looking at a violation here, yeah, so it doesn't allow me to do it in the first place. So it only allows me to do it in the valid areas, which I think is helpful. On top of that, when we use the, when I have the tool selected for impulse waves, which I currently have, I can just click on the point where my, zoomed in too far, can select the point here and drag the area forward, and it auto labels it. So it automatically, it doesn't get it right here, probably because the chart ends, yeah, so it puts 3, 4, 5 on the same date, so it doesn't consider forward, but it automatically labels just that area and usually also gets the right degree of the wave. Now, originally all the waves had the same color. I went through the effort to change the color settings for each wave degree so that they don't have the same colors anymore. But yeah, so overall, I think today we're gonna stick with motive wave. Might be a little struggling in some parts, so here and there we might revert to wave basis. And yeah, like, so overall, yeah, so that's the part I wanted to quickly mention. Hi, Mr. O Cortex. Hi, Ben. Great to have you. Shout out to the guy yesterday saying that UX improvement unnecessary. I still don't like the UX, yeah, but it's like the features, and that's not even everything. Like I said, like yesterday I spent some time to dig into that whole thing, set up the sources. At some point I, by mistake, closed a few windows, and I basically had to set up my workspace again because I couldn't find any way to restore windows. So I don't know, like if you would know from Photoshop or other programs where if you close a certain panel, so let's say I close this alerts panel, to have an easy way to get it back, yeah, there is no such thing here. So there's no selection where you can, or I don't know where, if there is any, where you can get windows that you closed back, yeah, which is kind of like ridiculous. But so in terms of user experience, still a lot of improvement possible. And also with the Elliott waves, I literally, yesterday I configured all the colors, and today I had to configure them again because again I had to set up everything again. But there is a lot of features, like we know that wave basis has a scan feature and an alert feature, but only starting at the 100, or how much is it? Let's check so I don't say anything wrong. 179, I think it is, $169 plan. And motive wave on the, so that I don't say something wrong here, motive wave in the Ultimate Edition, which has all the features, including all the Elliott wave features, comes at, yeah, now it's not loading fast enough, but I think it was 169, so it's like $10 plus minus. Let's check. Now it's loading Elliott wave. $159, so yeah, same price. My short-term memory is horrible sometimes. Oh yeah, so motive wave actually is $10 cheaper. However, for motive wave you would need a data source. Now if you were somebody that trades long-term, so you're not looking on the 5-minute time frame, you could technically just use Google as your source. So you wouldn't have the super up-to-date 5-minute data and intraday data, but you should have the data for up till yesterday theoretically. And for planning positions that you plan to hold monthly or for a couple of months, so planning on the daily chart, it should be more than sufficient. However, where on wave basis you need that $169 plan to have the scan feature, and it scans, yeah, like it, I mean, a couple of assets, and there are limits to it. In motive wave you also have a scan feature, and it's really, really cool. So, no, not like this, but here, manage scans, and so you basically can give it a title, what kind of scan it should be, then you configure the instruments that it should monitor or watch, and the basic bar chart data source plan allows you to basically monitor 200 assets at once, and then you can configure your bar sizes, so time frames that you want to watch, and the criteria, so that it starts a wave 3 at the moment, for example, yeah. And when you then run that, it pretty much shows you, okay, there's a wave 3 on the GameStop hourly chart, and it shows you what it came up with, yeah. So likely referring to this wave 3 here, that's just starting here. Then there's another one, but that's different labeling. So you still have to validate pretty much the same what you have to do with wave bases. And then there's a third one, which could be the blue one that it's referring to, a little bit hard to say. And there's a fourth one, which is also downside labeling. And then in Apple, there's another wave 3 pattern it found. Yeah. So I'm sure there's more where that came from. So like I would really love it even more if I would have a broker that supports it, so that I can literally open a position from here and see the positions on those charts. But I think one of the bigger benefits is like literally that we can switch between time frames without losing our labeling, and with also without cluttering the chart with too much labeling. So when we zoom out, we hide all these subwaves. When we zoom in, we see more. And also when we switch between tickers, so between stocks or assets, it doesn't delete our labeling, so everything stays the way it is. Yeah. So yeah, but yeah, so but yeah, that's why I think we're gonna go with that. It doesn't show you the predicted areas, so where supposedly the target area for a wave 2, for example, would be. So it kind of like forces you to then use Fibonacci retracements. And it would be great if there would be something like a favorite bar, like we know from TradingView, where you can define some features that you use often enough. Yeah. And but yeah, so we will have to consult the Elliott wave book and basically use that to come up with our predicted target areas. Yeah. Now, on first glance, probably should zoom out a little bit here. Up. Yeah, I'm still fighting with the zooming. Okay, let's switch to, well, yeah, usability. Dip. Yeah. No. That doesn't seem like... Ah, yeah, because we're looking at Apple. I'm an idiot. I was wondering where the drop from the earnings call is. Yeah, obviously wrong stock. So back to GameStop, daily. And yeah, and if we zoom in here a little, and then maybe eventually I will remember the Fibonacci shortcut here with N. Yeah. So basically, if we, for example, do this here, and then we can drag that further, and the target area that wave basis would show us would be between the 38.2 retracement and between the 61.8, where we're in here quite nicely. I think one thing I'm still missing is that you can kind of like say send to background, because now it looks like the Fibonacci is on top of everything, but an option to put it in the background would be nice, yeah, so that the waves are on top, or I don't know, like this. So I'm sure that motive wave is definitely more powerful than wave basis, and like honestly, if somebody's just starting out, I think using the 14-day trial of wave basis to its full extent, then maybe using the $50 plan of wave basis for some time, simply because it has enough features. And then at a later point, either if your portfolio is big enough, so the combined $200, if you also need bar chart in monthly fees, are easy to recoup with your earnings, eventually then try to transition here. Yeah, like, but yeah, Ben says, oh man, keeping the labeling on the ticker is great. Yeah, I agree. And the benefit is like, so the way I see it, we could open up another chart here and say GameStop 1 day, blah, 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 inherit settings. Okay. And so we could label this chart in one pattern and this chart in another pattern. And when we switch to Apple, it basically will just change the chart we're currently in, but we could basically keep two different labelings at the same time, just in different tabs here. Yeah. So I think there's, well, I'm still not super sure about all the features, but I think, yeah, this chart has something, but yeah, we close that. It has its upsides. Like One thing I dislike is I haven't found a setting so far to change the volume indicator to use some different colors, because in certain cases with GameStop it might not be such an issue because we have that upwards movement. But in some cases it's like the volume then overlaps with the candles if they're still low down, and then it becomes like unreadable where you're at there. Yeah, so yeah, like, and hi P-Drake 983, yeah, good morning to you as well. So I was just sharing that yesterday I wasn't able to use Elliott waves and Motive wave, and it was a human error. I entered the wrong license key that I apparently got years ago for the free community edition, which doesn't have the Elliott wave features. I spent a couple hours yesterday setting everything up and playing around and signing up for bar chart again, so we have the data sources. I mentioned I'm curious. Potentially, I'm not sure, but potentially we might be able to actually see the order book here once the market opens in 13 minutes. So at what price point, how many shares are being sold and bought. That would obviously be nice information because we would know where the sell walls and buy walls are, so where a huge amount of orders are already waiting. And yeah, but overall I think wave base is definitely more than enough to get started, and then Motive wave is just like an entire different level. But yeah, I think I will sign up for it. So I still have the trial of this here, but if I consider, I was anyway thinking about upgrading wave bases to $169 per month so that I can have the alternative counts, where you can then right click and say label this as alternate, so you have two patterns on the chart. However, if I just pay a few dollars more compared to that, yeah, I can have as many labelings as I want on different copies of the chart. So I think we'll go with that, yeah. But we will see. I think we will stay with that, especially if it has the order book. So I mean, so it would be 159 plus 69, so 228 per month total. But if bar chart also has the order book, then I would be totally fine with paying that compared to, so paying $59 more to have the order book information, which I think, especially when we look at the 5-minute time frame, will be useful to show us precisely. For example, on this upwards movement here, we likely would have already seen that there is a lot of sell orders on this price level, giving us an additional indicator that our predicted reversal or corrective pattern or whatever is more likely to happen there. Yeah. But we'll see once the market goes live. If there is no order book data, that's what I wanted to show. We can edit the instrument, and here, where was it? Connections. So we see source from bar chart and real-time data from bar chart, and historical data, it says also bar chart. But even if I wouldn't have bar chart, I could, or if I wouldn't pay the $10 extras per month now for the US indices, so we have the full history of the stock, I could actually just pay the basic $59 and have real-time from bar chart, but historical from Google and Yahoo Finance combined. So it would still sum up to the complete chart history, which should work out quite fine, but be a few dollars cheaper. And as an alternative, let's maybe take a look. So if we switch to the monthly chart here and we zoom out so that we, yeah, I need to figure out the zoom sensitivity. It's a little bit horrible on the touchpad on Mac. But if we open GME again and then edit this instrument, not sure if it would affect both, but basically switch this to Google, 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 and yeah, no source would then would be the case, yeah. And it reloads and we still have the full data. However, if we go to 5-minute, are we still? That's from April 5th, which was yesterday. And now check here, when we edit this instrument, it's also changed to Google. So we cannot have the same chart for GameStop open with two different sources. That would be like ultimately better. But yeah, I think we will check that later again, so to see if we get any kind of intraday information when we use Google as our source. Yeah. And can close that again. So overall fine. Now let's take a look what I missed in Superstonk. Just gonna move that over. By the way, I also noticed that there is like 1 or 2 people or a few people that still post, and we're gonna check that. Reddit RGME. Oops, I think they're, what, GameStop stock? Okay, that they changed the title. Was just GameStop or not? So now somebody is cross-posting Rensol's post. Okay, there you go. But there's still some people that post their due diligence on the GME. And I think, like, while obviously we see it by the numbers, there's already 140,000 members in Superstonk, that this is going to be the new home. I think it's worth here and there checking the GME as well to see if... Now I have both open. So Superstonk here, and what I wanted to say is, like, well, here's our new home. I think it, yeah, so delay in the stream, got it, yeah. That we'll hear, also here and there, we'll find some nice things. Although, yeah, like, most of it is, yeah. So here, let's start with daily synopsis, yeah, which usually sum things up. Like, I mean, I'm gonna ignore all that. Thankfully, we found a new subreddit, and we're so grateful that everybody moved and blah 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 and so on. Yeah, because I don't really care about the reasoning for the move or the drama behind it. It's really just about, like, what kind of useful information we can get. That's a nice picture. It's gonna, yeah, it's beautiful. I looked at this for 5 hours. Okay, so. Okay, there's actually useful information already here on the new filing, which can be found here. There we go. New OCC filing seeks to amend the process for liquidating positions for suspended options clearing members. Okay. When members get booted, their positions are sold at auction to other participants. Theoretically, it would mean that it could result in a higher price, but likely, if I understand that right, it could also result in a lower price for that they receive, yeah. But that's only for that would only be for options, yeah, so that's the crucial part here. So it's not for, it doesn't affect shares, because otherwise that would actually be something negative for us, because it would mean that if they are booted out because of liquidity issues, then the closing of their positions wouldn't make it to the market, but would first be auctioned off to other members, which could, yeah, which would not affect the price, and which obviously those members could just, they will not be willing to pay more than what they would pay on the market for it. So yeah, they want to change the rules to allow more auction participants to hasten the liquidation process. Yeah, so more people, blah blah blah, or more participants can bid or fight for the positions. Previously, the rule required these liquidations auctions to be invite only. Now an options clearing member can attend. Okay, so before it was invite only, and now every auction clearing member, which none of us are, can attend there. Now, now even non-clearing members, okay, with a sponsorship from a clearing member. Okay, I don't know who has options clearing members on his, like, what's it called, shortcut on the phone or quick speed dial. Yeah, I don't. Additionally, these new participants no longer have to have significant trading experience. Yeah, it doesn't really help. It basically, what it means is, like, if I'm a rich billionaire with not significant trading experience, but my buddy runs a company that is an option clearing, whatever, option clearing something, what the second C stands for, and they can sponsor me or invite me, and I will then be able to buy options for cheap at auction from a member of the OCC that gets liquidated. Yeah. The news is tightening, yeah. Smaller house and trading firms, yeah, that would also be blah, blah, blah. But the other question is, like, why would another clearing member sponsor anybody when they can also take advantage to just buy the shares or options cheap for themselves in the case, yeah. So, yeah, so The OCC wants this liquidation procedure to go as quickly as possible to perhaps lessen the blow, lessen the blow on the market as a whole. Yeah, so I'm not sure how much that actually is relevant on GameStop. I think that might be just another general, like attempt to regulate the whole liquidation process better without any effect on us. I'm not sure if there would be shares at auction. It would be bad for us because you're not gonna pay more at the auction than what you would pay at market price. So, and it would mean that the positions don't get to the market but are auctioned off first, which will not create buying pressure. So if it's just for options, then it should be also irrelevant, because pretty much the way I see it, it's just one member buys the options from another member at a discount because the first member got booted out because of liquidity issues. Yeah, so while interesting indeed information, I don't think that's relevant for our course. So what else do we have? Okay, there are other rulings or the same. Yes, I'm going to read that. Yeah, so 801 is not a margin call and does not allow OCC to margin call Citadel. It raises the target capital contribution to 25% for all members from the current variable rate. So basically it could mean that Citadel has to put more cash on the table. And it introduces a new minimum corporate contribution that DCC already has for its members. It has a different purpose in this game, and you need to understand why we are all waiting for this, because it creates the conditions whereby Citadel can be margin called without a lifeline. Yeah, so, and that margin call would likely happen. I'm just gonna jump ahead and guess what it says, that margin call will happen if they are unable to maintain the 25% capital rate. Yeah. So 004 does the same thing, but in context of the DCC, of which both Citadel Securities and Citadel Clearing are members. It subtly shifts the language of the underlying agreement to make it clear that the defaulting member's corporate contributions get drawn down first and assets from the defaulting member are used as collateral for liquidity. So basically, first the 25% are used to pay for the margin call or for liquidating the instead of liquidating the positions actually, so to cover whatever they are owed, and then the positions get liquidated. Prior to 004, they would have drawn the liquidity from all member contributions. So that's a huge difference. So it's not like, okay, Citadel screws up and all the other OCC members have to fit the bill, but it's like Citadel has to fit the bill, which basically makes the margin call possible, because if the 25% are not enough, then they will be forced to liquidate the positions. Yeah. So then there's another stuff. Before applying the participant, we're not going to read that. So both documents deal with the procedure on drawing from the member's doomsday fund and change how a defaulting member may access the member contributed insurance pool. The way I see it, the DCC and the OCC are setting the stage for to firewall some entity, maybe Citadel and maybe others, from taking from the member insurance pool. Basically, with the change in verbiage with respect to 801 and 004, they're removing the lifeline from any defaulting member. Yeah. If you make a mistake, we're not giving you our bananas, until your bananas are all used up. So okay, so all of that combined, basically, first they're gonna use up the 25%. That ruling changed. So maybe because before it was a variable amount or percentage, so maybe Citadel had some special treatment and a lower requirement there. Then the positions of Citadel would get liquidated to pay. And last but not least, only if that is not enough, the entire insurance pool would be tapped, so from other members as well, to cover the rest. Yeah. So blah blah blah. So then there is another ruling or rule change. The proposed rule change is how DTC manages the transfer of securities on the back end. It has nothing to do with failed to delivers rehypothecation, preventing deep ETM calls to close, fail to deliver, etc. Nothing. It is a change to the member agreement to reflect how they handle transfers on a technical level, blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. They basically say this is how we actually do it, so we are just amending our agreement to reflect that. This is probably also why this change has no comment prior and no SSC approval involved. So what they're doing is updating the member agreement to reflect the fact that they don't actually transfer securities and only place a notation in their ledger. But because of this technical change, they need to update the original agreement and thus the strikeout and amendments. Now here's where you have to go back and reread page 11 where everyone is getting hyped up. Continues to be credited to the pledger's account, however, with a system notation showing the status of the position as pledged by the pledger to the pledgee. This status systematically results in the removal of notation of the pledge status of the position, and the position would become, blah, blah, blah. So the text prevents the pledgee, blah, 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 is unchanged. The strike of from and replacement with held in is a reflection of the technical mechanism of how they handle transactions with a ledger notation and not actually transfer of securities. The problem is that people have been reading page 11 without reading page 29, which explains why they are making the change. Okay, somebody actually respect, he read that whole thing. So why didn't such a massive game changer require a comment period and SSC review? Again on page 16, it's purely technical in nature. Look, I can summarize this for you, but you should really read it yourself and see how all three of those fit together. In summary, 005 is not relevant to either GameStop, AMC, nor any other stock that is currently being shorted. It's purely a change to the member agreement to clarify a technical point. Yep. My sense is that the real answer is OCC04, because OCC04 is the twin to DTC04 to create a firewall before the match is lit. If you're going to burn down Citadel, don't you want to make sure that A, they don't touch your money, and 2, they will never get back up again. Yeah. So interesting. There are some rule changes that basically will just affect how we get paid if there's a squeeze. And market is open, no order book. Let's try to. If I close that, can I get it back? Please let me get it back. Okay, no order book data. PD. So for that, we probably need a broker connection. So PD, I was really hoping that that's also with bar chart, but I might ask in an email. Do we have any significant movement in the early beginning? Do we have any movement at all? I'm gonna double check here with wave basis. And just for the fun of it, trading view. It says 188.02. And we're on what time frame here on hourly? Okay, 5 minutes. Okay, we have a huge candle to 188. Do we have that here as well? No, it says 185. Why connections? Bar chart, yep, everything here. Now, why do you not update? I mean, I'm literally paying money for you to update. High 186, but that's from yesterday. So give me my new candles. If I close that, it would delete the data, so we're going to try to just open a new chart. And we have the same issue. Yeah, like I was really looking forward to this, but why do we not have data? Like we definitely have a connection, or multiple actually. And there's if we say show extended data, we get aftermarket, so and pre-market prices, which is what we don't need. And if I say clear local data, yes, so you'll have to reload, I guess. And we still don't have, well, that sucks. That's motive wave. If you start the stream from the beginning, there I'm actually talking about why I think it's great. And I'm currently considering, if I should either upgrade wave basis to the next plan, which would be $169, or if I should use motive wave with bar chart. which would be with bar chart around 200 something dollars, so $50-$60 more. And yeah, now always love it when things work exactly the way I want them to. Yeah, we jump to our usual 5. So I really like that part about Motive Wave, that we can really seamlessly jump between our time frames. Timeout connect, okay, connection timeout, connection successful, update connection, update workplace. Remember password, connect. Yeah, connect there as well. One more to go. No, it just, oh yeah, one more to go. The dip yesterday doesn't really, so first of all, if I haven't said it, hi David, hi Josh, hi Nuns with Guns, and hi Aaron. Yeah. So the dip yesterday doesn't affect our overall predictions at all. We can do, now we have real-time data. Yeah, that looks like it's today. Yeah, so we can stay here. So if we zoom out here, or actually let's go to daily. I think we have usually, nope, too far. Hourly might work. So we still have our wave pattern 1, 2 here, yeah. So, and everything that happens in here, including that small dip that's not even noticeable on this hourly time frame, basically doesn't change it. It moves 0.2 a little bit, which means the profit targets for this blue wave get a little bit lower, but overall our prediction for this, I don't know, gold or brown wave are still into the 1,300 area. Now here in Motive Wave, I haven't checked yet if there's a way to also automatically get the predicted price targets. I'm gonna show my face again. Oops, wrong button. So in Motive Wave, I haven't checked yet if there's a way to get the predicted price targets. I'm gonna move my camera in the corner that we likely won't use at all. Up. And but overall, that labeling still stands, and our price target for that wave 3 from wave basis would be 1,300 to 1,500. Yeah, and however, I mentioned it yesterday that I spent some time on the weekend rereading some stuff and reading parts I skipped earlier when I went through the Elliott wave book and relabeled the chart. And I actually, during my Sunday stream, where I did a small portfolio review, mentioned that I can come up with 2 alternative labelings where we would either drop to 175 or 150. Didn't say it will happen and that's gonna be, and we were wrong. I just said like either we go up like we thought or like we labeled before, but those other 2 labelings also added up to me. And today might be a little trickier because I'm really trying to use Motive Wave instead of wave basis where possible, so we'll have some growing pains here, but I also think that overall it's like worth it. The main reason is because we usually struggle with corrective pattern, where here in wave basis we only have corrective, triangle, corrective double, and corrective triple without any additional checks. However, if we look here in Motive Wave, we see that we have ending diagonals, corrections, triangles, triangles with 9 waves, so triangle combos, ABC corrections, yeah. And the funny thing is that, for example, first of all, we can have multiple patterns on the chart and they don't disappear. We can decide, for example, I could say this one here should only be visible on the 5-minute time frame, yeah, and not everywhere. It has an auto hide feature that at some point, if the waves get too small on the chart, it hides them automatically, yeah, and so on. And what's really nice is if I do this, so for example, from here we have a new interval, and I can pretty much just do this, and it adds the labeling for that new interval, trying to determine the right points for it. Now this might not be accurate, yeah, but it also has other benefits. If I pick this starting point here and I pick this here, I couldn't even pick here as wave 1, yeah, or something that would be invalid. If I pick this here as wave 1, I cannot label wave 2 up here, you see, because it would be a rule violation. I can only pick a wave 2 that's lower. And yeah, same here. I cannot label wave 3 like here because that's not possible within an impulse, but I could technically If that's higher, I should be able to label it here, or I'm still not able to label it here, yeah. But yeah, okay, I cannot label it in the future, that also is tricky. So, but if I label it here, for example, and then if I do things like, if I do things like that, we see that it starts to complain here, wave 4 terminates too early and so on. And for other things, so there's a difference. There's like this exclamation mark, which points out mistake. And then there's also a yellow warning sign, which kind of like probably is guideline violations. So not rules, but guidelines, yeah. So doesn't look as nice, I think, or as nice as wave basis does. And definitely is not needed for people that just get started. But I think it's nice. It has some downsides, again, because we don't have the predicted areas for where it goes. So we'll have to consult the book and then use Fibonacci retracements to figure them out or to label them ourselves. But it's also an additional practice. And why I love it even more is that I can go here to Apple and anywhere else and then go back to GameStop and my labeling is still there. So, or switch between time frames and my labeling doesn't disappear. So I think that's a big point, yeah. And yeah, Motive Wave is actually a charting tool that is different, because with wave basis it's like trading view. You have your charting and you don't have to worry about anything else. With Motive Wave you also have to worry about your data sources. So if we look at the workspace configuration where we just been, you see a connected bar chart, which is a paid service. So we have detailed US stock information, Binance and Coinbase Pro because I have wallets there, and Google as a fallback, yeah. So but you could use it on the most expensive Motive Wave plan is $159 versus the most expensive, or the second plan even of wave basis, $169. So and then you could just use Google as a data source where you might not have real-time data, so it might not help you with trying to trade on hourly time frames or something like that, or short-term trades. But if you plan to hold your positions longer, maybe you just trade on the daily chart and basically plan to hold your positions for a couple of weeks or even months, then it might be all right to just have Google as a source, so you only end up paying the $159 for Motive Wave, and yeah, label it from there. Blah blah blah. Yeah, seems like a neat tool. I think so too. As mentioned yesterday, I hate the interface, and for everyone that missed it, yesterday we tried to add Elliott waves, and I was wondering where they are because the whole Elliott waves part was missing. And the reason is that apparently I signed up years ago for the community edition, for the free one of that software, which doesn't have the Elliott wave features. And yesterday when I set it up again, I entered the wrong license key. But I spent some more time, get everything set up, and blah blah blah. Yeah, and good morning, can you share an up-to-date link to your current wave basis chart? It would currently look like this and be empty, which is kind of like, yeah, like tricky. So since we played around with other things, and so we'll basically start from 0, which actually is one thing that I mentioned yesterday that I still have to figure out, or where again my labeling versus what other people might think and so on, because technically we still would have to start from the IPO, and where my labeling is 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're in wave 5, or technically we could still be in wave 4 and it's a longer correction, yeah. But obviously if I, for example, do this, so for automated labeling, yeah, and I do this, it cannot fit a pattern into that range, and that's probably because this violation here. However, I can manually label it. And although that's a rule violation, I can put it there because I'm not labeling a subwave. But as soon as you try to label a wave of lower degree, it enforces the restrictions between 0.0 and 0.1, or between 1 and 2 and so on, yeah. And let's say that's like this, and then, and also one thing I haven't figured out in wave basis, I can just press escape now and it only labels the first 3 points. And in here, it somehow feels that I always have to at least label 4 points, or now in that case, even 5. But yeah, so you see here it points like a warning. It doesn't say it's like completely invalid, that wave 2 terminates beyond origin, which I explained because we look from the IPO. That's my justification for that, because there's no other way how this can be labeled. And then wave 4 retraces, which is obviously a rule violation. That would technically go here. So this, and then it doesn't stack properly right now. Horrible. Let's check. That's a cycle, and the blue one, or undo. The blue one is primary, yeah. So, and just gonna try to fix that. Too far, too little, yeah. So wave 4 goes here. Let's move wave 2 real quick. So there are some growing pains, as everyone can see. So let's try to move wave 2. Yep, and move wave 4 back. And then technically they should stack up properly. But they don't, maybe because there's too much difference in the degree. This one is, the blue one is labeled as primary, and the other one is labeled as, probably I still have the same, as cycle. Now they actually fit there. We're just gonna get rid of the bigger one, the problem solved, yeah. But yeah, a lot of nice features in this tool or in Motive Wave. Probably take some time to figure out all of them. I'm actually surprised that we don't have order book information, considering that we see real-time bid and ask prices. So maybe I'll need to look into the tutorial again. Maybe there is some special way to set that up, because that whole platform has like a ton of different settings, as you can see. And yeah, just gonna make sure that I save the configuration. Yeah. Not at all. Like, I'm more than welcome, or it's like really my pleasure to do all of this, because anyway, I'm also invested in GameStop. Now we jump back to Apple, which we didn't want, back to GameStop, and back to the 5-minute time frame. Up. Yeah, the zooming is something that somehow doesn't work the way I want, and down here I can only move it, I cannot scale it. However, I can theoretically use this and say I want to see the last 2 months, and that scales it for the last 2 months. Now the lines that you see here, by the way, are daily, so the end of the day, end and start of the day, or should be daily, yeah, 24, or in that case not daily but weekly, yeah, because we're zoomed out that much. And then here, end of the month, and if we zoom in, we see the daily intersections, and obviously 2 months is too much. Let's try 1 month. Yeah, can even be smaller, let's say 2 weeks. So there we are, from the earnings low, wave 1, which moved a little, and wave 2, which we are not 100% certain sure if it's finished. I mean, the auto labeling, so if I get rid of that wave and also the subwave here, if I use the auto labeling from here, it actually gets the same idea that I had initially, that that's wave 2, and this here would actually already be wave 3. Disagree with that, because there is not even remotely strong upwards movement, and wave 3 should always be the strongest, or can never be the shortest wave, and by definition it's also usually the strongest upward movement. It basically is the wave, in case you remember the Kennedy channeling technique, where we use trend channels between 0.0 and 0.2 and parallel through 0.1, and wave 3 would then be a breakout of that channel. And if that were the case, then we'd have a problem, because we would need it to shoot like into the 400 before it makes our wave 3. However, if we do this, if this would be our wave 2, and technically, I'm not sure if let's try auto label a corrective pattern. Tool, Elliott wave, correction. We can do the same. I can just drag it here. So it appears to be happy with an ABC pattern like this, but technically we could still see a little bit more downside, in my opinion. Yeah. So, but overall, doesn't really matter. Even if we would see a drop to 150 and then finally start and have our wave 2 down here, or if that was really the end of the correction and this is now the start of wave 3, really the overall prediction is still we go up. Yeah. So from here, and yeah, the wave 2 point here also makes more sense, because if we add a trend channel, so tools channel for the Kennedy channeling technique, so to connect this parallel through point 1 and extend it, then basically a breakout from here would indicate that we are in our wave number 3. Yeah, so and we can also add the median. On the other hand, and wave number 3 in that case of the blue labeling. Yeah. Now, if we go to wave basis, so we're going to combine the best of both worlds for the foreseeable future, and we're already on the 5-minute chart, and we just double check. That's here I'm on 15 minutes. Yeah, okay. So we're also going to just zoom out here to at least get the same area. So if we go here and do the same, so that's wave 1 up. And that's wave 2. Then our wave 3 up, lock all of it. Our wave 3 target should be at 347 to 380. And here our wave 3 is also in that area. Might actually still automatically label the right areas. Yeah. But then the issue that arises with this is when we use the Kennedy channeling technique, so where we label again, like that would be our base channel, then we have the breakout, which would then label our acceleration channel for wave 3, and with then the deceleration channel for wave 4, which likely or often hits the top of the channel, of the base channel, and then our final channel for wave 5. Then the problem is, if our wave 3 ends here, it technically never left our base channel. However, if our, can I move that? Yeah, I'm gonna delete that. If our wave 2 is not finished yet and we see a drop to 150, so wave 2, nice, it even moves the point of the subwave. First of all, we would have a better ABC correction because it's a new low, and here we already had 163. And this here is 164, which basically would indicate, if it's labeled as ABC, that yeah, we don't have a new low here. Yeah, but the point is, if our wave 2 still has a drop to come, then it makes more sense using the channeling technique, because if we now connect point 1 and 2 parallel through 1, then our wave 3, while not a lot, but still visibly would be outside of that base channel to confirm. And interestingly, if you look, yeah, so again, with the channeling technique, we have our base channel, and I might quickly just draw it up on TradingView on another example, hourly chart, so to remind people how that works. So if we zoom in here on the hourly chart, and we would say this here is our wave 1, 2, then we would basically connect point 0 with wave point 2 parallel through 1. And the moment we have a breakout here, it would indicate that it's our wave number 3. And we would then go ahead and, while with each new candle, basically connect point 1, which so point 1 with the highest point that we can find, yeah, which in that case eventually would be this candle here, with a parallel through point 2 up. Yeah, parallel through point 2 doesn't work very well, but that would be our acceleration channel for wave 3. And the moment we have the breakout here, it will become the deceleration channel for wave 4. And very often, not in this case, because here wave 3 exceeds the price target. Yeah, the price target would be here. But very often the drop that we have here will touch the base channel. Yeah, I think where we see it even better, so if we really quickly, so second example, there we don't have wave 3 and 4 yet. Yeah, don't have a nice example here really quickly that is that candle real, that drop here to, oh yeah, we have that everywhere, so that was a like short sell-off that quickly recovered. Yeah, so I think here we had a wave 1, and point number 2 would likely be then here. Yeah, might not work perfectly here, yeah, either. Yeah, tricky. Anyway, so if you apply the channeling technique, again, point 0 with point 2 parallel through 1 builds your base channel. And as soon as you have the breakout from that base channel, you are looking at wave 3 and you would connect the high, so wave 3, as it develops. So first you have this candle and you connect this with wave 1 parallel through wave 2. You look if there's a breakout at the bottom. No, there isn't. So then you have the next candle and you just move your trend channel until you eventually get here. And that would finish, or the moment you have a breakout at the bottom of that channel would finish your wave 3, and you would then draw the deceleration channel. And very often that tip down here will touch the base channel, yeah, very often. And therefore, if we look here, if our wave 2 actually would require another drop to roughly 150, our base channel would look like this, so it would be flatter compared to using this point, yeah. And then if we look at the predicted price area for point 3, while not huge or a lot beyond the channel, it would be beyond the channel, which is the first important factor when we use the channeling technique. And our wave 4 retracement, assuming that that already considers the usual to expect retracement, would actually be in the area of the top of the base channel, which is going to be the case in most cases when we use the channeling technique. Now obviously with GameStop it's a little different, because most of the up movement we are waiting for isn't really organically because of company development, but we're waiting for gamma squeezes and people or companies getting margin called. So we would expect bigger movements and exceed our price targets. Yeah, but overall, there is an argument that can be made that this correction here is not finished yet, and that there will be another drop to come into the 150 area. Not because I'm able to label the corrective pattern and can say with certainty that it will come, but simply that if I take multiple labeling techniques, with a drop to 150, it would make more sense. Yeah, possible that it doesn't come, but I'm still open to us seeing 150. And it reminds me, Mario yesterday also mentioned, although we had in the pre-market 150, which we don't count, yeah, but he also mentioned that he expects 153, so which we didn't see yesterday. So would still fit my assumptions and also Mario's assumptions. Now quick back here, Monkey Man Boss, good morning. Yeah, good afternoon for me, but good morning to you. And once again, thank you. We had that already, so I missed your good morning before, sorry for that. Could the new rules proposed, approved by the DTC play a role in the volume and the need to change the wave labels? No, like I don't think so. Like I mean, what changes? What changes basically is that some of the OCC members might have to put a little bit more cash into the piggy bank. I'm sure they're not short of cash, and so for many it may not even change at all, because before it was a variable rate, but it may be that variable rate was already 25% for most members. Theoretically, it's also possible. I mean, I didn't study the whole document, but just logic, if before it was variable, it could also be possible that before it was actually more than 25%, and for some members it now frees up cash. I don't know, but I don't expect it to have any influence on the volume on the market or on the labeling. Like the reason why we have to relabel is because, or why we had to relabel on the lower time frames, is because I suck in corrective patterns. And that whole thing here is like a really damn lazy, slow-moving, sideways corrective pattern. And why it's so confusing, it's because we have here a clear zigzag, like almost perfect zigzag, which makes it so tempting what we did, or what I did, to say, okay, this is the end of our wave 2, and now we're in wave 3. So because that's really such a nice, easy to spot, I'm gonna need to remember the undo action. So such a nice, easy to spot zigzag here that I was expecting our wave 3 to start here. And basically for most of last week, Monday, Tuesday and so on, we spent a lot of time, or I spent a lot of time trying to make sense of this pattern here already as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 impulse. but it becomes more and more clear, especially with this new drop, that this is just one very long corrective pattern now. Very long on the 5 or 15-minute chart, reasonably short on an hourly chart, yeah. And yeah, on the everything hourly or higher, or even 30 minutes or higher, so everything that goes beyond those very small wave movements that we predict or label here is unchanged. So, and I don't think that there will be any change. Now, I'm also gonna, just out of curiosity, I'm gonna delete that up. Yeah, the zooming stuff. Okay, let's try that. I need to figure out the mouse sensitivity setting. Let's say the last 1 week worked. Yeah, no, 1 week is too short. Last 2 weeks again. And now let's check, because motive wave also has, for example, a combination. Not sure what it means by combination, but let's see what I can come up with. Then it just labels the, that actually would make sense, which in that case, this would be an ABCW, then this would need to be an ABC X, and then there would be another ABC Y, yeah, and which would take us then down to 163 again, although I also expect like that 150 might be. So yeah, we're still struggling with that corrective pattern, and there the point is we'll likely will be able to label this in so many ways that all might follow the rules, but we likely only once we definitely have the start of the wave 3, so once we see like not significant, but we see definitely some upwards movement, preferably once we exceed, in that case, $218, that would be the definite sign that we are now in wave 3. So even, or when we get close to that already, then it's the definite sign that we are in our wave 3, because it gets higher. I don't think so. Like, I think on the smaller time frames, it might force you to reevaluate and relabel certain parts. So because Luke asks, in your opinion, do outside market events like Yellen calling for global corporate tax play into Elliott wave principle? And in the end, Elliott wave principle is like a manifestation of human mass psychology, and a news event or an announcement like that is literally all it does is it triggers human mass psychology. Like some people worrying about lower earnings or lower profits the company has, and therefore maybe selling stock. But I don't think with an announcement like this, or I don't think that announcement has any effect at all, because it's just asking, I would like other countries to settle on a corporate tax that we enforce in our countries, which interestingly enough, for example, Cayman Islands and so on, like they're tax paradises for corporations. They make a lot of money, maybe not through taxes, but because there's a lot of lawyers and services that help you set up your company there and so on, and obviously then banks, yeah. And I'm sure there is like fees the banks charge, or some capital gains tax or something. So even if the top 20 countries, US, France, Germany, and so on, if they say, yes, we enforce a global corporate tax, we agree on the same tax, the Cayman Islands could still say, yeah, but we don't, yeah, like, and even if then US and so on try to sanction them, they still make their money, so it's going to be tricky. Like, but overall, it's just an idea. It's like, what if we do that? I would like to do that. The moment it becomes it's like on the table and officially getting discussed, it becomes more serious. But I think only the moment where it actually would become effective would be the moment where some people would close their positions, take the profit, because they would expect that the next quarter will be worse because of more tax on the businesses, lower profits reported, yeah, and that they would then temporarily move some of their money away from stocks and, I don't know, into some other asset, yeah. So, but what if we do that? I don't think that has any influence at all. I mean, we can check if you look Apple, like, it's not that you would notice anything here. American Express, yeah, doesn't care. Bed Bath and Beyond, still looks like it's a bull flag here, by the way, so on the monthly chart. So daily might be, yeah, maybe not perfect, but really tempting to draw a triangle here. Yeah, like, can I unlock the, yeah. So maybe not perfect, but looks like there might be a breakout soon. Yeah. And yeah, so most stocks, I don't see anyone reacting to that, like panic selling based on an idea that might happen, where anyway every corporation is going to spend a lot of money to lobby against it. Personally, I would be for it. Like if every country on this planet would enforce the same corporate tax, that doesn't mean that there are no loopholes anymore. Yeah, like for example, you could still spend all your profits on whatever, like you could incentives for your employees. So you could literally send your employees on paid vacations or team building exercises. It's a company expense, you have less profit, you don't pay tax. You can donate money to a certain, depending on where you are, so you can make donations which make your company look good. And if you think about, let's assume you have a 50% tax. So if you have $100,000, you anyway only get to keep 50,000, yeah, because 50,000 would be tax. So if you donate the $100,000, then you pay zero tax, but you get a lot of publicity. Or even if you don't do donations, just spend it on advertising for the company. So, I mean, it's a risky business to try to have no profit officially, yeah, because if you have a few bad months, if your revenue is not big enough to pay your bills, you might struggle. But if you think about it, every big company like Apple or so that makes like billions of profit, technically, they could, at the end of the year, because they know the revenue in 1 month that they make is more than enough to pay for multiple months probably of their expenses. So technically they could at the end of the year just pay for the most expensive advertising campaign ever to burn all their profits and get a huge brand awareness benefit out of it, which still beats giving away 20, 30, 50% in tax, yeah? But wouldn't having a global corporate tax hurt certain companies in terms of different states here in the USA and countries having different operating costs due to the area? No, I liked it. I mean, since I also have a business in Hong Kong for tax reasons, and I disagree because for example, I used to live in Thailand, and there it was common practice for IT companies to have one entity registered in Thailand and another one in Hong Kong, yeah? Because in Thailand, if you are a Thai business and you purchase or use a service from a foreign company, you have a withholding tax. So on top of the invoice that you get from the foreign company, like if you used, I don't know, like Google Cloud, and Google sends you an invoice, you would have on top of that to pay the Thai government a tax on top of that because you're using foreign services, yeah? And so IT companies usually would have a company in Hong Kong and one in Thailand. So for their Thai customers, they would issue the invoices from their Thai companies so that those customers don't have to pay the withholding tax. And for foreign customers, they would issue the invoice from Hong Kong because Hong Kong doesn't have a profit tax for profits outside of Hong Kong or China, yeah? And so there would still be enough loopholes, and I think in general, I mean, not loopholes, but it would level the playing field, in my opinion, because if you think about it, a company like Amazon or Google or so, they can literally spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to hire accountants, lawyers, and whatnot in all the countries on this planet to figure out how to route the money and how to structure the sales process in terms of which entity issues the invoice, which entity fulfills the order, and so on, to pay the lowest amount in taxes. Whereas if you just open your, I don't know, like a coffee shop, you don't have the resources to figure out how you could kind of like move some of your expenses or even revenue into another state or country to save on taxes, yeah? And if the corporate tax is the same worldwide in every country, then there would be no purpose for, I mean, there's still some optimization possible because, I don't know, like in the US, you might be allowed to, whatever, like deduct $10,000 as donation per month, and in another country you might be allowed to deduct $1 million per month, yeah? So you would then still be able to, okay, we're gonna move to that other country officially so that we can donate more And it could be your own foundation that you donate to, or you just really see it as like we are donating to at least get some good publicity out of that money instead of paying taxes. But I think it would level the playing field in some way. Yeah. It currently, what's really unfair is really, if you think about it, so my company is registered in Hong Kong, and so all the invoice, so my YouTube earnings go to Hong Kong and so on, because the YouTube channel is run by my Hong Kong company. I'm just providing the content for my Hong Kong company, yeah. And the customers for our software as a service platform pay their bills to the Hong Kong company and so on. And I have the benefit that we don't have customers in Hong Kong or China, so my company doesn't have to pay any profit tax on the profits that it has. Yeah, there's still some taxes for me personally and so on when I pay myself dividends and blah blah blah. But overall, I have that advantage, whereas a local coffee shop that is operating down the street or so doesn't have that luxury. They have to pay taxes, value-added tax and profit tax on all the revenue. Even so. While I'm currently in Ukraine, so if I have a Ukrainian customer, he still is a customer of a Hong Kong company, and therefore still I don't pay profit tax. Whereas if the local coffee shop, somebody walks in and I don't know, buys something, they still have to pay the value-added tax. They still have to pay tax on their profit in Ukraine and so on. So if you close that loophole, I'm sure not every country would follow, which doesn't close the loophole in the first place. But it would be fair. Yeah. Now, since we're already talking, they're off topic a little bit. Let's check, does the chart still update? It looks like it does, 185.87. Do we now have an order book? No, still not. I want an order book. It's like, there's a huge misconception when I don't know, Bernie Sanders goes on a rage and says like, if you buy, and I like Bernie in so many aspects, yeah. So, and I try to keep this stream politics free. So don't interpret anything into that I just mentioned Bernie, but it's just one example, yeah. So when he says, if you bought one pair of Nike shoes for $130, you paid more to Nike than they paid in income or in federal tax, yeah. And I disagree with that. I'm not very familiar with the US tax law. I know that it works different in terms of value-added tax. So if your business is in California and you have a Californian customer, then you have to charge him value-added tax. But if you ship something to New York, then you don't charge the value-added tax. But I would still bet that while Nike may not pay corporate tax because they optimize their cash flow, I would still bet that they still pay millions per month in other taxes that may be value-added tax, that may be, I don't know, for example, in Germany there's something called Gewerbesteuer, which would be just basically for you running your business, you have to pay a tax. And then when it comes, I don't know how it works with employees in the US, but from other countries that I know, you pay them the salary, and no matter how you optimize it on top of that, you always will have some taxes on top, yeah. And so while they may not pay tax for their profit because they optimize their cash flow in their interest, yeah. I bet, I might be wrong, yeah, and then the US tax system is really screwed up in my opinion, but I bet that they still end up paying millions per year in other taxes that go to the government and are available to use to, I don't know, improve infrastructure and all that stuff, yeah. But all of that is an interesting topic and I actually like it a lot, yeah. For example, currently YouTube announced a new change, so for those of you that have been watching for some time, so not today, but in general, you know that I already have another monetized YouTube channel that this year so far brought us a little bit more than $20,000. Yeah. Now YouTube announced a change that they will be starting to apply a 30% or up to 30% withholding tax. Yeah. So at first I was like, oh my God, because if we take $20,000 and say 30%, it would mean that we would have earned $6,000 less if that would already be in place. Then I looked a little bit closer and realized it only applies to US viewers. Now on average we have on that channel 16% US viewers, so it's only this year so far, if it were already in effect, it would only be $1,000. But I'm not giving away $1,000 for nothing, because with that announcement I started looking into setting up a company in the US, because if the company is in the US, then YouTube doesn't apply that withholding tax, yeah. So, and running a company in the US, like just with a post box and a service that you pay that deals with document filings and so on, costs you around $600 per year, maybe a little more, yeah? So if you then compare that, if we would lose $300 per month because of that withholding tax, it's $3,600 that we would lose if I do nothing. If I set up a company in the US and it costs us $1,000, we still lose that $1,000, but overall we get to keep $2,600 that otherwise would disappear. And the way it would work, obviously, is I would call it, I don't know, like My Amazing Publishing Company, and it would then be the company that's responsible for maintaining my YouTube channels and publishing content, and my Hong Kong company would then be responsible for producing the content and selling that content to my US company. So the US company would then simply pay the Hong Kong company for the services, and in the end there would also be no taxable profit at the end of the year in the US. Yeah? So no matter how you turn it, there's always some way to optimize it, and unless every country on this planet would like follow through and say like, okay, we're gonna agree on the exact same tax law, and it would need to be not just a corporate tax, because again, how much you can deduct or write off as donation or business expense and so on also has a huge effect on how much profit you will have to pay tax on. So only if worldwide we would have one tax code that applies to everyone the same, then you would not have the situation where companies move their entities in other countries to optimize that. Yeah. But I like that. I mean, I like that whole topic because I constantly do the same. I constantly look into how can I do things better. I think I might be wrong, but Rockefeller said that, or somebody else of those a century ago guys. Yeah. Basically, it's smarter to spend 1 hour or 1 day per month to think about your money than working 30 days for it. Yeah? And that's a mistake that I see with many people. I mean, I'm a little bit judgmental here, of course, yeah, and I'm also not perfect, but that they work hard for their money, but then they just, they just have it on their bank account piling up with no interest and don't consider if it would make sense to invest some of it, yeah. Or they just pick the first investment that the bank consultant or bank employee tells them about, because their father is also using that same bank and the same consultant, and so it must be a trustworthy guy that has my interest at heart and so on. Yeah. So that's, I think, yeah, like if more people would spend a little bit more time actually not only thinking about what they can do with their money, but also thinking about their expenses. Yeah. They would all, in my opinion, would all be way, way better off. Now, so far it looks today like we have a boring start. Yeah, like I'm not even, I wasn't sure if the candles are moving. But yeah, so for example, I'm curious from all of you guys, like who of you actually knows how much like your expenses, yeah, like not just rent and how much you on average spend for food, but for example, considering Netflix, Spotify, I don't know, iCloud and all the other subscriptions, and also considering all the yearly payments that you have, because that's the number one mistake I see many people make when they come up with their expenses. They forget that there's this one insurance that they pay yearly or something else that they pay yearly, and they don't consider it in their monthly calculation, and basically they tell themselves they have that much disposable income when in fact it's just that much. Yeah. And technically, if you really do an overkill here, you would even need to consider how often you go out and buy clothing, how much you spend on average, and then divide that up as well, so you consider it as a recurring expense. Yeah. So like I for example, I maintain a Google Sheet for that, where I have all the expenses, so personal and business expenses. For things like groceries and so on, I use like average over a couple of months. And in general, when I'm not sure, I round up the expense so that overall my expenses number and that my overall expenses number is higher than it actually is a little bit. So whenever I'm not 100% sure it's variable, then I tend to round up, so that I rather end up being surprised having a few dollars more available than being surprised that I'm missing a few. Yeah. And P-Drake says, just had my water bill come through, was exactly that yearly bill not accounted for. Yeah, like, yeah, and it happened to me. Like everything I'm sharing with you, it's not me being super wise and knowing all that shit. It's literally me talking from my own dumb experiences, like not considering this, like knowing next week I will get paid 500 euro or something for some small work or project that I need to pay whatever, and then 2 days before I get that payment, some other invoice that's some quarterly, half yearly, yearly payment or some other stuff comes up and kind of like screws me. Yeah, so otherwise, yep, I'm good. Shop at cash and carry rather than supermarket. Don't know cash and carry, but yeah, like, I mean, here in Ukraine, it's one of the benefits, like, I don't know where Drake, where are you from? Like my wife says that she thinks that it's Metro cash and carry, but I guess there's other companies that just call it the same. Yeah, I don't know what 500 euro means. You should use a universal currency. We all understand, like GameStop shares. That's like the joke. Tesla is now accepting Bitcoin to buy the car. You walk into the store, you ask how much it is, and he tells you it's 1.5 Bitcoin. We just have to fill out the paperwork. During the paperwork, it's please sign here to agree to the 1.3 Bitcoin payment. And then when it's about to transfer the coins, it's like, please transfer 2 Bitcoins now. Yeah. And the same thing would be when we do it in GameStop shares. Although the last week has been boring and sideways and it would work, yeah. But before that, it would be, before I would even finish the sentence, the value would already change. Yeah? In the UK, yeah. So it's likely Metro then, I guess, yeah, because we also have Metro in Ukraine, and I know it's in Germany, Austria, so in European countries. And yeah, like we are using Metro delivery actually. So my wife orders the stuff online. Yeah, so it's part of Metro. So same here, Metro in European, so in Austria, Germany, the countries I know where it is, and here in Ukraine is also only for businesses. And here it's basically really nice because, and I'm surprised that in Ukraine they do it and in Austria and Germany they don't, so that you can order on the website and they deliver it to you. Yeah, and it's really, really super convenient compared to going there and yeah, like. But even going there, like Metro in general is cool because the prices are a little bit lower because, as you say, a lot of smaller restaurants and I don't know, pizzerias and stuff like that basically buy their ingredients there, and so prices are lower. It's like, but it's mostly also because they don't bother with like decoration and how their warehouses more or less look. Obviously, it's clean and tidy, but they are not bothered with the, yeah, like with what a supermarket would consider, like to optimize the way you walk through the store to and so on, and to place mirrors so that things look like there is more. So they just have their shelves and yeah, like the bigger packages of everything, and there you go. Yeah. But yeah, like I think like that's one of the, I know like we went there from taxes and so on, but even on your personal level, thinking and taking care about the money you have and the money you earn is important. For me, it goes so far because obviously we don't have like a fixed income in terms of salaries, but we have revenue from YouTube, from our software, from affiliate marketing and so on. So I also have a list of all the accounts. Unfortunately, since we are in multiple countries with all that stuff, there's no software, so it's another Google Sheet where I basically have all our bank accounts, PayPal accounts, and then company accounts, and then Stripe accounts, and affiliate programs where we make more revenue. So, and I constantly basically have a list of how much cash we currently have or how much money on those accounts in general, how much debt we have in terms of credit card bills that are due next month around the 20th, and how much we have incoming, so how much cash we already earned, but it might be pending. For example, affiliate commissions often only get paid after 30 days, or Stripe, when your customers pay with credit card, you have like a week or so before, or I have a weekly payout set up for us. So, and so that I constantly have like the bird's eye view, yeah, to know our financial situation. And there's also same for the trading portfolios, where I pretty much daily update the numbers to see how much of our cash is invested, and also the profits of each portfolio, so I know how much they are in profit or not. Yeah, so I mean, I'm doing that a little bit excessive, yeah, but I think everyone should do that at least once per month. First, once sit down and, yeah, preferably a Google Sheet, in my opinion, is the easiest, and write down your expenses in general, so like rent, groceries, all the insurances that you have, which reminds me I still need to pay this month's health insurance, yeah, and yeah, like car maintenance, how much per year on average, yeah, like you can go really into detail, and the more detailed you do that, the better you know how much of your salary you can actually spend, yeah. So my wife just reminds me that we used to have an app called One Budget. There are multiple of those, where basically it works better if you're an employee, because then you can enter your salary as well, and then just every time you go somewhere and you, I don't know, you pay for a coffee or so, you just quickly enter the expense in the app, and you can assign categories, so like coffee or education or entertainment, and so you basically see how your money is working out, if you're spending too much or not, yeah. Off topic, but if you were to make a video series like Financing 101 for apes, I would personally pay for your knowledge. I don't like courses, so if I would do it, it would be a free YouTube series. And I actually already started thinking about it. So the idea is, so this YouTube channel didn't start because of GameStop. I'm grateful about the GameStop situation from an investing perspective, and also because it helped me suck all of you onto this channel and reach the 1,000 subscribers faster than expected, yeah. But it started because of my eToro Popular Investor profile, which I started last year. And basically, the idea was, when I have time this year, that I will start to publish my portfolio reviews here, and kind of like try to provide content on here that helps me get also some more people copying my portfolio on eToro, because at some point I would get paid there as well for people copying. And yeah, so now I lost track of, but yeah, so the idea was already to do that like this. And then I started to record the first few videos, as you can see when you look on the channel. But I noticed one big problem with pre-recorded videos. I don't prepare a lot for my videos. So even on my main YouTube channel, I usually prepare a little, but then I kind of wing it, yeah, like so. And it works very well on every other topic. But with trading, the problem is, like, the best example was really, I wanted to make a super detailed GameStop Elliott wave video, and I'm like spending 1.5 hours or longer just recording it. Then I sit down to start cutting it, and I noticed that within the first 5 minutes I have 2 so dumb mistakes that I should have seen instantly that ruined the entire video. Yeah, so pre-recording trading videos is something I probably will only do once we hire 1 or 2 more employees that can help out with post-productions and preparing and stuff like that. And with the financial tips, it's kind of like the issue would be getting people to find those videos, yeah, like, and people don't like to be told, like, I still make a lot of mistakes, and there's still a lot of things I could do better. And so like when you guys last week told me that I should stop smoking because I mentioned that I'm still smoking, yeah, which is a solid advice, but obviously it's something I don't want to really hear, yeah, like, I mean, it's like, who likes to hear like how you, not like, how to say, exaggerating it, who likes to hear like, you idiot, why you do that, yeah? And so, yeah. I use an app called Copilot. I've heard of that one, I haven't used it. On iOS, tracks income and expenses, clean UI. Yeah, my problem is, with all those apps, I would love to use an app, but we also not only have, so there are a few apps that, for example, also work with, link with your bank accounts. I think Copilot does this as well. There I'm using Outbank. That's a German-based app that covers most of our accounts. And the problem, however, is because for us, so we have the company in Hong Kong, which means we have a company account in Hong Kong, a Hong Kong PayPal account, which is in Hong Kong dollars and stuff like that. Then I have my accounts in Germany, which are in euro. Then we have accounts in Ukraine, which are in Ukrainian hryvnia and so on. And so there is no app that supports all of that in a way where it would still be not a usability nightmare, yeah? Do we have no movement at all? Are you sweetie, go cook. Like, my wife is sitting behind the desk on the couch, and we have, I don't know, movement. Like, is this no, it's not updating. It's at 191. Like, okay, so why you not update? Yeah, so let's try to, is there a refresh button or something? real-time data, yeah, so no, let's save the configuration. Fingers crossed that it will restore. And try again. Really would like to stick with motive wave, especially because they're so far I only had to pay $10 to get the real live or the detailed feed for US stocks, and so I'd like to get the most out of the trial to really make the decision if I'm like super confident with that or not. But yeah, worst case we'll stick with that and connect here. And yeah, Michael says, I was a cigarette smoker for 15 years roughly, finally switched to a salt nic vape cartridge and haven't looked back. Saves me $800 a month, 4.3 GME shares, yeah. So now it's working again, yeah. And we still don't have an order book. I want an order book. Yeah, the problem is, so I stopped smoking when last 2 weeks. When I don't know, I stopped smoking for almost a year because I was kind of tired of going out in the cold in winter to smoke because I didn't smoke in the apartment. And then when I moved to Thailand, I didn't have the cold issue anymore, and it was nice and whiskey coke and relaxing and so on. And so I started to smoke again. Then when I was back in Germany, I tried to vape, but I don't know, it's just like there were situations like I was in the city, I wanted to smoke and I pushed a button and the battery of the vape is empty, yeah, so like screw you, no smoking for you right now. And then obviously all those vapes eventually start leaking, and yeah, but when I was vaping, I actually vaped without nicotine, so which was at least a benefit when they started leaking because it's not as ugly sticky like with the nicotine inside. Yeah, I see many of us here have crippling nicotine addictions. I wouldn't call it an addiction. I call it I don't know, like a vice, or maybe, I mean, a hobby goes too far, I guess, but like I enjoy it, and it's, yeah, like going out, in my case now, going out on the balcony and then they're enjoying fresh air, yeah, in quotes, with the cigarette, of course. And yeah, just getting away from the computer, which is one of the core benefits for me. Like, seriously, why you not, can you then not at least tell me I have connection issues or something like that? Like, a dirty pleasure, yeah, yeah, similar to cocaine and hookers. So, but yeah. So, hi Christian, what causes downtrend, impulse, or bearish markets? How do we detect that with Elliott wave? Yeah, like same way you would detect the upside, yeah. So if we open, so we're gonna stick with wave. I'm gonna move motive wave on my other screen and see if the ticker starts moving again. And here, if we switch to the monthly chart, and basically every time you finish a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pattern, yeah. So if we look from the IPO, and so we're back in 2003. And you label this and blah, 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 and then we get closer to 2007, and eventually we're in 2007. You have this candle, you're not 100% sure that this is already the end of wave 5, but then this starts to happen, yeah? And then you basically would start labeling, like over the first couple of months, like A, B, and it would already indicate to you that it's likely a corrective pattern, yeah? And once you have this, so that corrective pattern basically can get bigger. And since, for example, a zigzag is split up into a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so into an impulse, another zigzag and another impulse. So what could happen is that you simply have your zigzag ends up to be this, yeah. So then that would theoretically be a leading diagonal or an impulse, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. that would be another zigzag, A, B, C, and that would be another 1 or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So after every wave 5, you basically have a corrective pattern, and while in most cases that corrective pattern will roughly go till wave 4 of the previous wave of a lower degree. So because the overall corrective pattern would obviously, so if it's a wave 2, yeah, so that would be wave 1. And in most cases, wave 2 would actually stop roughly here around the area of wave 4 of the previous impulse of a lower degree. Yeah, now that's not what happened here, but yeah, basically you have your high, and then so you have wave 5 and then the corrective pattern that follows. Now in the bigger picture, it should still then fit in the overall pattern, so which is kind of tricky but still works, because let's assume this is already our squeeze and wave 5, yeah, which by definition automatically makes it wave 1 of the biggest degree that we can label right now, yeah. And then as a result, the drop that we have here will very often, let's see where we have Fibonacci retracements, yeah. The drop that we have here will very often go into the area here, so 38 to 61.8% retracement, yeah. And by definition, that would be a huge drop from 500, from close to 500 to 35 or 25, which would then play out as another, likely as another impulse, or as a big ABC, which again splits up into an impulse, zigzag, impulse, yeah. And so the bigger part, and that's the issue that we have with GameStop, because I think my labeling of the monthly chart makes the most sense. Like, while there are some rule violations, they can be explained, and in my opinion, reasonably explained, not just randomly justified, but there is no, it's not a perfect pattern on the monthly chart, because we have this wave 2 that gets lower than our starting point, yeah, which is an issue. However, in motive wave, we see that violation is not as a red exclamation mark, but just as a yellow warning sign. So apparently motive wave agrees with me that it's not a super bad violation, yeah. And yeah, so you basically would wait for a 5-wave pattern to complete, and then the corrective pattern that starts afterwards would then basically be your bear market, yeah. I have a hobby of buying FDs and smoking crack. It's really enjoyable and not an addiction, yeah. I think, in my opinion, yeah, like, I mean, obviously everything here is just my opinion, and I apparently, since I'm not even able to get live ticker data in motive wave, obviously have no clue what I'm talking about, yeah. But I think an addiction is at the point where you have no control, where like it's literally, you need that now, yeah. And for me, smoking, like if it's a sunny day, I have nothing to do and I'm spending it outside, I don't know, at the, or on the porch of a friend's house, and maybe even having a drink or so, then I probably could smoke a cigarette every 10 minutes. Not because I need to, but just because it's kind of like super relaxed, leaning back and just enjoying, yeah. When we're doing this live streams, last week we had 7-hour per day live stream, Monday till Thursday, and I think 2 of those live streams, for the entire 7 hours, I didn't go for a smoke, yeah. And not it, while in between it was like, oh, it would be nice to go for a smoke, but it was not like, oh my god, when will this end, should I take a break, or should I tell them I'm going to take a short break to go for a smoke. So I think it just depends on yeah, like I think there's a difference. What is the new software called? It's called Motive Wave, and like you can either jump to the beginning of the stream, but since we anyway have no movement, which is, yeah, like slightly boring. How's the book? Great. How many characters did you count so far? Yeah, so how many?
Almost 700 pages.
Cool, cool, yeah.
For our designer.
Yeah, and it's in English.
Yes.
So much fun for her, yeah. We ordered a new book about Face. It's like the Bible for designers, I've been told, and yeah, for our designer to basically read it and maybe learn something from it. And now it's updating, or it's not. No, it's not updating. And yeah, so the new software is called MotiveWave. And since we have no movement here, no noticeable one, I'm gonna just bring it back over and share again the differences. And yeah, like somebody in the chat, if there's a huge spike in GameStop or so, or something's moving, because here it's not updating. We should also notice it down here if there's a huge change, because I think that ticker here still updates or doesn't. I don't know why, like Apple updates, like you can see, and even there's literally the order book. There is order book data. How do I get that visible? Open order book window. I don't see an order book. Ah. Yeah, like, but does MotiveWave work with crypto? Yes, you basically, oh great, yeah. You basically configure your data sources, so that's the difference. Here you don't have to worry, you just start typing here and you have stuff available. And in MotiveWave, you set up your workplace and you set up your data sources yourself, so you can connect with Binance or Coinbase Pro. It also connects with Kraken and Google. So, but Google not for real-time data. And for the stock market, you would either need to use a broker that support it, or like I'm doing basically a paid service called bar chart. Yeah, so you can check that if you go to motivewave.com and connections, then you see what you can connect and what they support. So, and if you look for crypto, you see Bitstamp, Binance, Coinbase Pro, Kraken, and yeah, and then 2 gateway connectors, which should allow you to connect other stuff. And yeah, bar chart doesn't have crypto. Crypto compare would be a service, free access to crypto. Yeah, cool. So apparently you can add them as well, and manual data import. Yeah, obviously. So, but what I personally like about it, so I don't like the UI. There's still issues with me zooming, as you can see, when I try to do that manually. So that's why we fall back to trying to get it right like this. Is that we can have waves, or when we switch between time frames, if we switch to monthly, we still have that trend channel here, yeah. But I can go to hourly, for example, and just say right click, visibility, and that it should only be on smaller than hourly or smaller equal hourly. So if we then go to monthly, it disappears. And the same is with wave patterns. If they would be too small, so like on the monthly chart, the patterns that we currently have on the lower time frames would be too small here, so it doesn't show it to you. And yeah, a bunch of other reasons why I like it. Don't like the user experience in many aspects. And do we have like ticks on the... So here it says 189, and here we're still at... No, now it's like, what's current? Current, do we see 189, 49, 185. Yeah, so somehow just the data integration with bar chart isn't working fully to my satisfaction. Yeah, so, but it's great with Elliott waves. So wave basis is cool in many aspects because you can already declare waves of different degrees, and on the higher plans you could also have alternative counts, auto counts, and auto scans. So, but that would require $169 per month, and MotiveWave comes at $159 per month in the Ultimate Edition that has all of that stuff. But you might need another data source. The best way would be if you, by chance, either have the Swiss broker Mindtrade, or if you have, I don't know, interactive brokers, might just be a data source, or if you have DD Ameritrade, because they integrate at least for stocks, with which, or at that point, you should technically be able to also manage your positions from within here. So you would then see here the positions, your orders, your balances, yeah, and apparently have a small balance in Binance, yeah, so. But yeah, so pretty much nice tool. Still need to figure out what's going on with the live update of the tickers. And yeah, you have different screens. You can have it like this here or floating. And yeah, although it doesn't consider the charts that you have opened here, you would need to open them here again. And then your accounts, yeah, and orders and positions. Then if you use it, you could have a trade report. You have a scan feature where you can set up your own scans. So new scan, and you can then say, okay, I want to scan based on Elliott wave or harmonic, whatever that is, and based on another study, I guess, yeah. And so basically when you run the scan, it runs through assets or yeah, like tickers that you defined or chose, and it looks then for whatever you defined. So I set up this scan to look for wave 3s in a lot of stocks, and it found them in Apple, 1, 2, and in GameStop. Yeah. Although you'd need to double check, because you see here it would also find a pattern starting from here where wave 3 would go down, and so you'd need to double check yourself. But it's kind of nice. You could literally just set up with bar chart. You can on the $59 plan monitor 200 stocks at the same time. So like get the live ticker data, yeah, which means you could have 200 assets or stocks added to your scan. So if you say edit scan and then here instruments, you could have 200 in there, even on the $59 plan or $69 plan of bar chart. And then every day just smash the button and have it tell you where it detects a wave 3 based on Elliott wave, which usually would be the longest movement, or yeah, like never the shortest. And you could then just manually check those that it identified and open your positions accordingly. And you can also, I'm not sure if it makes sense, but you could also go to, yeah, so if we go to manage or edit scans, and then bar size, we can even add, so we can say, okay, also add the 15-minute, and yeah, and if you want to include pre or after market, so pre-market and after hours, you could check that. We just say, okay, we start that scan again, and now it would also consider the 15-minute time frame, and you see that it finds more. And then also, so apparently on the hourly time frame, it doesn't find anything in it finds only in GameStop and Apple, but on the 15-minute time frame, there is apparently a wave 3 in American Express as well. Although here the wave 3 would be downwards, so not so great, but would indicate, okay, if that's right, after you double check it, that would be a good point to close your position or to sell, so short sell. And that second one here point is a bigger wave 3, so we still are part of a bigger wave 3 apparently, which is going upwards, although there is a small rule violation, and I think that's nice. That's something wave basis misses, because when we use wave basis and we just smash the button and say, or select an area and say label this for me, like it labels it, but for example, wave 3 should always be an impulse, but here it's an ABC, yeah? So, which doesn't fulfill the rules and is not pointed out. So if you don't know it, you might be like, okay, that's definitely correct. And then you might see, oh, 1, 2, and then you end up buying when in fact there might be another drop coming or so, yeah? And that's really something nice here. While there's still, you still have to double check yourself, but obvious rule violations are already explained. Like here it says, okay, it terminates within the range of wave 1. A small degree of overlap can in rare cases occur in futures, yeah, because of extreme leverage, which doesn't apply to games or to American Express. So we know that this rule violation in American Express is not okay. Yeah? But yeah, so cool features. Just would need to, yeah, you see the chart doesn't update. That's kind of like a problem, because if you don't, let's look only at 2 days and let's scale that properly. Yep. And it says 189, and here it also says 189, and here it says 185. Yeah, so it's a little bit of a problem. And I'm gonna, yeah, like gonna keep that chart open. But as mentioned, like I consider it possible, like an option that we have our wave 1 here and that our wave 2 isn't fully finished and will actually go around, like not in terms of when, but in terms of where, would actually go down here. Now, which would still be the predicted area for that retracement, yeah, although we reached it briefly here, and here, but I think it would make more sense if we then have the following waves, because it will make the base channel flatter, and so yeah, so and then wave C would be like that overlap here, yeah. So still possible, doesn't have to happen, could really be that this is really the end point, and here we have the 1, 2, 3. But if we look at that sideways movement that's starting here again, yeah, like it looks more like that corrective pattern is still dragging out. So, but yeah, and I'm gonna quickly look, because I Googled it before, regarding the order book, because if we can get that to work, it would be a really nice feature. So historical generated ticks, look order book. Order entry panel that displays the number of contracts, yeah, along with recent trades, yeah, great. And there's only, yeah, and where, summary, yeah. Depth of market panel, or yeah, where is that hiding? Yeah, like I have one here, so I have this panel, and there we have, we have one here where I can click order book and it opens an order book, but we see nothing, yeah. And there the settings are also not helpful, it's just maximum rows that it should show it, yeah. And so it should, I don't know, maybe, okay, yeah, so that doesn't really help us, so we can just color the background, so it should work here, but it doesn't. And then there's a separate one that we saw down here. Oh no, there's buy sell boxes. Where was that? Oh, it was with right click. Yeah, there we had open order book window. Yeah, and it should work here as well, but I don't know, like that's what that number is for. Maybe number of rows or so, but yeah, you get it. There's like nothing showing up, and it has the same settings. Order tick window, apply. I don't know where order ticks are. No, we can hide the bottom panel because we're not linked to a broker. But and based on seeing the size of the orders here, yeah, and there's literally like one. I mean, yeah, GameStop for some reason. Everything else changes quite instantly, and GameStop somehow is like not working. What if we switch to another stock? GameStop still doesn't update properly. Yeah. Let's check if somehow, and we definitely have it set here to bar chart. Like we could change that to Google for a second, which should refresh, and now change it back to bar chart. But doesn't update, so I think what if we set add here? Yeah, Binance doesn't. Okay, so you could even add other sources here, yeah, but yeah, we only have bar chart as a source. Motive wave user guide. I have motive wave volume analysis open, but yeah, I'm gonna look at it. User guide, I already had that one open yesterday, and page 174. Depth of market that allows you to see bid beyond the best bid and best out, blah blah blah. This is supported and permission from your broker data service. That's the crucial point here. Yeah, can be assessed as a panel on a chart, a panel in a console, or for a separate DOM window. File new DOM window. The following screenshot shows an example of a DOM window. Blah blah blah. Yeah, great. That screenshot is taken on windows or so the way it looks. But can we right click here and view? There we also have nothing. Show volume, reset spacing, log studies, tools. But basically we should be able to, there, so there would be an order book, which is the one that we can open here, which contains no information. What's this magic button? Replay mode, we don't need that. That magic button, time and sales panel, okay. There we have previous orders apparently, yeah, so 56, okay, here we have blah blah blah. If I refresh that, so at least there we would have previous orders, yeah, and the position size. So, but that's obviously not as nice since we have to manually refresh it, but it should, in my opinion, yeah, like, I mean, the bigger question is likely if bar chart provides the order book, yeah. And for that, I'm just gonna email, yeah, like Alex from bar chart. Let's ask him if there's a way to get, yeah. Oops, didn't want to click there. But yeah, one issue we currently have is that here our candles are not updated. Yeah, here it's also frozen. So trading view is at 190. Wave basis is at 185, and here we're at 189. Like, no, actually we're at 190. Just that might actually still be quite up to date. Yeah. So, but we can close that, and obviously there's a difference between the last executed position, which we can see here. So the last executed trades, and the order book that already shows you the pending positions from others. Wait, blah blah blah. Yeah, I think you need a different broker source for the order book data. Yeah, I mean, I emailed bar chart now since I was anyway emailing them already, and maybe they have another paid upgrade so you also see order book information. Would be really cool. Yeah, like, doesn't really, I mean, that information, but we will not keep it visible on the screen all the time, but seeing the historical information, if we would have a huge drop, yeah, 5 minutes. If we would have a huge drop, we would be able to at least see the volume that caused that drop, yeah, so in terms of how big the positions were, and yeah. So, but we notice, like always, we have a lot of very straight numbers, but I think that's like a general thing. If we go to some other stock, it's quite popular. I think that's automated trading that just deals in hundreds. And in between, you then have those random numbers that are likely from individuals or manual trades. And same likely for American Express. Yeah, so like also multiples of hundreds. And, oh, but very, very also smaller numbers. Yeah, so, but still that looks like automated trading. So, but yeah, let's refresh that one more time, and then actually, if I close that, does it close the window or just the panel? No, just the panel, perfect. And here, so, okay. Maybe I will need to update the price label. So what's here? Our opening price was 185. Our low today was 184.11 likely. Yeah. Okay, so on the right, we see the low price. So there might have been an overlap. Yeah, so we see the low price in red, the day's high, which is not the day's high, in white, whatever then white is, yeah, and in blue probably the day's high. Okay, blue is day's high, red would be day's low, And can I change that, like, seriously? That would be not time axis, but labels. Okay, no. But it's not the time, but it's the price axis, so might be in here. And might be in here. But there we have no blue at all, so not in here. Chart teams. So we don't have a chart teams. Where's the difference? Bar? Ah, okay, got it. So gonna need to. Yeah, I'm not gonna do that right now, but I'm gonna look into that later so that I get that colored also the way I like it. And indicators are, yeah, like we have the delay, which makes it a little bit. But yeah, so use default. Oh yeah, use default. Day high. Yep. Pick a green. Day low. Perfect. But yeah, so regarding the order book, like, well, bar chart definitely provides us with the last order, but for GameStop somehow things are not working properly. It doesn't provide us with the order book, even if we check it for another stock again. So open order book window, no order book, yeah. So. And we're gonna quickly remove GameStop here because I don't understand why everything else is updating and we can see it blinking nicely. And GameStop just is like that. So gonna remove the ticker and no, that was the add GME. And move it up. It still doesn't seem like it's moving. Like even on the minute chart, it says 70.57. Yeah, we're already 6 minutes later. Like the replay mode doesn't help because it's for replays. So I mean, I like this one better than that one. Yeah, although that's now 5 minutes and that's 1 minute, but still 5 minutes. So still this one is better. Technically, by the way, like just on based on like habit, yeah, zooming, that could be a nice 1-2, and it would also, if we grab a, yeah, let's say a few last day only, last 2 days, a little bit more this week, no. So we need 1 week. So technically, this could be a nice impulse starting from this low and going 1-2 and on our way to 3 again. And why does this look so tempting? Because if we take the Fibonacci retracement, then we see that our drop falls within the area between 38.2 and 61.8, which usually would be the retracement that we see of a wave 2. Not always, but usually, which makes it possible, not guaranteed, but possible that this here is actually the end of wave 2 and we won't see a drop into 150. Now it depends on how this develops. If it goes above 194, it might make it more likely that this pattern here is right. And if we go below 180, it invalidates this point too. The whole pattern is not as nice anymore, and it like probably makes it more likely that we will see 150 before we go up. Prediction is right. Open DOM window above order book in that list. So what? What? But it's also not updating, so like we still have to, so technically that looks like an order book, and we also see the volume, not in a nice way, yeah. It would be like, obviously there are nicer ways to have that. But then the question is, so this order book is supposedly then, yeah, but it also cannot be just my order book, because I would have just a bid or ask price, but I wouldn't have both. So yeah, but it looks like, let's check for a stock that actually is updating. So for here, open DOM window. Yep, that's how it's supposed to be. Still doesn't look nice, yeah, so, but basically we already see at which price point. So there's, like in Apple, there would be a 1.3 million shares waiting to buy at 126.50, yeah, and apparently we get there. And there were 4 million shares that were, yeah, it's overall volume, so it's not only, yeah, in that case we're sold, yeah. And so it's now eating up here. Need to look into that, because obviously that volume needs to consist of both buys and sells. So, but the question would be, why is our GameStop not updating? Yeah, so like there, well, we see, but we don't see. So let's motive wave ticker not updating. Yeah, and there's obviously no useful, yeah. Huh. Yeah, don't find it. So thanks, Luke, for pointing that out with the open DOM window. I think that still the open order book window shouldn't just contain our orders, but maybe, yeah. But the question still is, I mean, if I close the chart, we lose all the labeling, yeah. So let's, oh yeah, because I closed the chart, yeah. And now we're also going to remove it from here, remove ticker, and then we say file new page, chart. No, I don't want to have a new page. I do want to have a new page. No. Okay, let's try to restart the app, because there's obviously no other way to get my, yeah, let's try to quit and hope that I get my Windows back, because obviously I did not want that to screw my layout. "95% of all computer issues sit in front of the computer," and I'm definitely not an exception here. So I'm also going to label this here, so that so basically here we have the potential correction still labeled that we might see, and also the assumption that we might already be now here in this wave 3. So up. If we either move past this part 1, it would make it likely that we are looking at our wave 3, or if we fall below 180 again, then it would make it more likely, in my opinion, that we will see this here play out. And fingers crossed that well, how do I know that I'm right? Is it connecting? Okay, connect. I simply try to enforce the rules as well as I can. Like, there are not many ways how you can label it. So the first thing is, no, oh, screw me, yeah. So I'm gonna put that to another screen and try to get my Windows back. So the first thing is that basically it could either go down or it go up. Now, in many stocks, you have a drop and then you have a so-called irregular first wave. So basically you ignore that first part here and you start from labeling from here. But if we label from here, if this here is a wave 1, for example, So that would be a wave 1. Yeah, so if we really go really big for the last 18 years or so, then by definition it would need to split up into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so it could be a leading diagonal or an impulse. Yeah, now if we do that, if we do our 2 here, it doesn't work because our 3 doesn't exceed wave 1 and our 4 goes far below wave 2 and even below 0.0. So the best we can do is to say this is our wave 2, and then we cannot finish it, that we realize that we are only at wave 3, yeah? Which still leaves us with 2 rule violations. Number 1, that 0.2, or actually wave 4 we could already label down here, yeah? So, and leaves us with 2 rule violations. Number 1, our 0.2 is below 0.0, which we can explain reasonably by saying the stock had a value before they went public, because there was no stock, but the company had a value. On day 1, the company value was 0. Then the company got founded. People that started the company invested some money, hired employees, and the value grew until they became big enough to say, now we are going public. So technically, there are candles that we don't see because they were before the company went public. Yeah? That would reflect the company value before going public. Yeah? So that's I'm not super happy with that explanation, but it's an explanation that's reasonable, and that makes sense. The second rule violation is that our wave 4 goes down here below wave 1, and there we have a perfect explanation called buying restrictions. People were not able to buy but still able to sell, which explains why a wave 4 drop would go lower than wave 1, yeah, or would go lower than it usually would. Yeah. Now, now technically, what also would be possible. Right, it's the same thing, like it comes down to the same thing. Yeah? So, because if this is our wave 1 and this is our wave 2, we have this rule violation, and technically this is our wave 3, so that's the same, and theoretically it could be that we still haven't finished wave 4, our corrective pattern is still moving sideways, yeah, but considering this low point here, it's likely already wave 4. So I'm just looking at how can I label it to enforce all the rules. I cannot label it any way else. Like, if we were to start from here and you say 0, 1, then you already have a rule violation because your 0.2 goes way beyond 1, yeah? And then you would say wave number 3, and then you have another rule violation because your 0.4 goes nowhere, and technically your 0.5 would be at bankruptcy, yeah? So, or at least, again, close to $2. So it would be at least somewhere in the $2, $3 area, yeah? And you have more rule violations this way, and the whole thing would basically assume that from the start, it was aiming towards closing the doors, so it doesn't make much sense. I don't know how else to label it. If we assume that on the biggest scale, the stock is always in an impulse, so we always have, well, this is wave 1, and we are in an impulse, and then we are here in an ABC, for example, but that ABC is automatically wave 2 of that same impulse. Yeah? And the moment we reach wave 5, so let's say this is wave 5, it automatically becomes wave 1 of an impulse. Yeah? So on the biggest scale, we are always part of an impulse, and the only way that I can label it is the way I do it. Now, there is like one thing that might be up for discussion. So 1, 2, 3. So the one thing that's up for discussion would be, is this really already wave 4 because it's compared to everything that happened before insanely short? Or is wave 4 maybe like going a little bit further than here? Yeah. However, if we consider like the guidelines, very often when wave 2 is a very long and complicated sideways movement, which that definitely would be, then wave 4 is a sharp correction. Now, that's really, really sharp, but it still is a sharp correction. Yeah, now, so it would already make it more likely that our wave 4 will be playing out short or over only a few candles. And if we zoom in, so not on a monthly time frame, we can break that down a little bit better. Yeah, and in addition to that, yeah, so that makes it more likely that this here is wave 3, and that already is wave 4 in my opinion. But in any case, if this already is wave 4, then we go up from here. If wave 4 is not finished yet, then that low here was already a rule violation caused by buying restrictions. Then I wouldn't anyway expect it to drop very far further. So I anyway would expect it to be in the area we are already, maybe the 150 area, and then that would be the start of our wave 5. So overall, it's simply the labeling that, yeah, like you didn't see the bottom area because my screen covered it. So here that wave 2 area, yeah, where basically the lowest point is. But yeah, like that would be the labeling that fulfills the rules the best. And the only 2 violations that are there can be explained reasonably. Now, technically, once this turns into a wave 1, it could also be a leading diagonal where, for example, wave 4 can retrace into the area of wave 1. I think we can see this, yeah, like if I get my charts back, like, God, how do I get that window back? If I right click, first of all, let me add GameStop back here. And move it somewhere. And now right click, open chart. Yeah, no. What? Can I move that into the other? Ah, okay, managed, not perfectly, but, and I'm sure it's still not updating, but basically here we are now. So, and monthly, yeah. So if I take here the up, maximize and tools and Elliott wave, and I say impulse, and I try to auto label this, it will tell me it's not possible, yeah, so unable to fit, yeah. However, I'm gonna move the camera back here again because for motive wave it makes sense. However, if I go to tools, Elliott wave, and say leading diagonal, it might actually fit. No, it also doesn't fit, okay. But then let's try it differently. If I manually label this, 1, 2, 3, I don't know why this candle here is green now on the chart, although it's red, but yeah, 5, then we see that it complains here because of the termination within the area of wave 1, and there should be, yeah, here we see the warning for this. Now, if I take tools, Elliott wave, leading diagonal, and we pretty much label the same thing. It doesn't even let me place it then here. Maybe let me get rid of the other one. So again, tools, leading diagonal. Yeah, so with a leading diagonal, we don't have the rule violation of wave 4. We still have the warning about wave 2, but that we can explain with, yeah, by simply assuming, and it's not even an assumption, it's like reality. At some point, the company was founded with a starting value, and then it grew and grew and grew until they went public. So there would be candles that would reflect the value that led to the IPO, yeah, which technically would mean that our 0 point would be somewhere, I don't know, yeah. So obviously it still stays here on the chart, but yeah, like that's why I can live with that violation. And so likely the overall pattern here would be a leading diagonal, although for a leading diagonal we actually would expect to actually reach something like this. Not like this, but wave 4 terminates beyond the completion of, no, it's still wave 4 in the leading diagonal only retraces into the area of wave 1, but obviously doesn't exceed wave 2, yeah. But yeah, so it's simply the labeling that makes the most sense, and that's why I go with it. If somebody else can come up, it's like I've had people on my YouTube videos comment that like that labeling is bullshit because of this violation here, if you look at an impulse, and because of this. But I have yet to see anybody, and I would be happy if somebody provides me with an alternative labeling that follows the rules, then I would be happy to apply that labeling. Yeah, like, but I don't see any way. And yes, you could label all of this as a corrective pattern, but then you don't follow the rules that on the biggest degree, you're always in an impulse, because the start of a wave 1 is not a corrective pattern, it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? It's an impulse or a leading diagonal. Yeah, so that's basically how I get here. Now again, like wave 4 could either end here, but wave 4 could also be that it drags out somewhere here, so that in the end we end up with the right channels. Yeah, like here obviously, yeah, it must invade territory 1. So if it's a leading diagonal, it definitely would be here, and if it's an impulse, then it could be somewhere here as well. Yeah, and again, that's one of the benefits of motive wave versus wave basis, because you have visual feedback that you just started to violate a rule. Yeah? And while it doesn't probably enforce all the rules, so for example, let's see if I can if I can fit another impulse in between 1 and 2. Yeah, and obviously here between 1 and 2 we would always have a corrective pattern, but not a triangle. And while there are some that have like 5 points, they wouldn't be labeled like this. So technically, yeah, we still get an error. See, wave 2 must be a corrective wave. Yeah, so, and those are some of the advantages, I think, of wave basis, of motive wave versus wave basis, that we get that feedback. Now, let's check. It looks like the charts are updating now. 187.01. Maybe this one is stuck now again. 185, 187. Yeah, so like TradingView says 187. So it looks like we're now good. And now let's take a look. If we now look at the order book, there we go. Yeah, so now we have order book. Can I dock that somewhere? Like, it's like ridiculous. I don't want to have it as a separate window. Can I? Wait, DOM window, open DOM window, but can I just open DOM without window? Yeah, like, is there a button for whatever DOM stands for? Show trades. I know that would be my own positions, I guess. Yeah, DOM panel. There we go. There we go. Now, technically, I don't know if I set that to 1. Does it change anything? So I'm going to configure that. Cool, 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 cool. So bottom panel, we don't need that because we don't have a broker integration, so that can disappear. And then dividers, bit divider in yellow. Yeah, nobody cares. General, there should be an auto scroller. So max def, yeah, apply. Maybe 20, can we, so that there is not, okay, that doesn't do us any good. Recenter all DOMs, doesn't help. Price column, volume, bid volume right, ask volume left. Huh? Okay, we're gonna look into that further, or I'm gonna look into that further at some point too. We definitely can, I'm gonna close that. So apparently we don't need the profit loss because, and we don't need this, and we don't need that, and we don't need orders. So basically that's what we need. Unfortunately, it's not nicely colored, and I cannot even make it smaller, which is kind of ridiculous, but yeah. So we now see in numbers, and still, I will play with the colors at some point so that things like this are highlighted. So there's a sell wall at 187 basically, and with 75,000 shares, or maybe that could be multiples, by the way. So it could be that 1 actually stands for 100. Need to look into that. But yeah, it also changed my green color, which somebody told me earlier, I think, yeah, I've already forgot, but somebody shared that it was in indicators. Now, how can I configure that in general? Indicators, there are indicators, daily high. You shitting me? Ah, here. Hello? Yeah, great. Really, really great. Gotta love that. So, no, I don't want to shut it down. I just want to, is it now minimized? So let's try this again. Configure, preferences, chart, indicators, and then push that button for daily high. What? No, not that button, but that color button. Set it to that green. Oh, what? Huh? No, wrong. It was set to white, so that's the line it should have. Okay, so we set that to green, and that one to, should be this red. No, it's not that red. That red? No. Yeah, comes close. And apply. Oops, so that was font color. Yep, apply. There we go. There we go. So now we have real-time data. We see the order book, and yeah, so I'm gonna, I'd move that in a second tab. Cancel. And I can't cancel it because there's another series. Are you shitting me? Talking about user experience, yeah, so if I move that now, there we go, there that other window is cancel and maximize that, and back we go. Now we lost all our labeling, yeah, but we should get that back real quick. By just doing this, and then by moving this, because I again think that it might be likely like this, and then doing that. Yep. And then if we go closer, we can then do that. Yep. And although that wave degree is wrong, so it's currently saying micro, but it must be one lower, decrease degree. Yep. So, or increase, is it now lower degree? No, submicro, fine. Okay, yeah, that's how I charted too. So between wave 1 and 2, where there is a significant price bounce back, that would be corrective wave B. No, it would be corrective wave. It's not wave B, but if we switch again to monthly, so you have, and you really should download that one-page cheat sheet that is in the description down below. So like this wonderful one page, yeah, and haven't done that in a while, but let's do that. And if you look at that one page, then you see for the impulse wave, impulse, that it tells you that you see for wave 1, wrong side, sorry, for wave 1, it tells you that this wave 1 always is another impulse or leading diagonal. For wave 2, it tells you that it's any corrective pattern but not a triangle. Wave 3 is always an impulse wave. Wave 4 is any corrective pattern. And wave 5 is an impulse or an ending diagonal. Yeah? And now for the any corrective pattern, not triangle, you can look at corrective patterns. And not the triangle, so for those 6. So the wave 2 that you have has to be any of those corrective patterns. And you can also look at the table. So here, where it tells you wave 2 is in 42% of cases a zigzag, in I think 8% of cases a double zigzag, 1% a triple zigzag, 40% a flat, yeah, 10% a double free. So you also get like an idea of what to expect. What's the thing that's most likely going to show up? It's not guaranteed that it will show up, but that's the one that we usually calculate for, yeah. And yeah, so between wave 1 and 2, it's not only wave B, it's the entire corrective pattern has to fit in there. So either an ABC or something that's labeled like, like ABCYX, WXY, yeah. So, and back to 5 minutes we go. Like, I mean, and while we have growing pains, by the way, with motive waves, so there's for sure some struggle going on. The struggle is real. Overall, I have to say I really like it. Like, and dropping $200 per month total, including having the order flow data to tell me, okay, there's a huge buy wall here, which likely, not guaranteed. I mean, if that auto senders, that would be great. Can I change it somehow? So which would also allow me to basically, if I anyway want to buy a stock, then I could look basically, okay, where's the next huge support based on order volume, and then buy based on that. Yeah. Let's check. What else? Row height. No, oh, we don't need 1,000 rows. If we limit that to 50, too much. Let's say, so that we don't see too far, but that we see, okay, 25. Too little, and there's another 4, so 29 should be fine. 30 works, yep. Okay, 30 already gets the stupid scroll bar. 29. So we have it without scroll bar, and technically, I don't know if you can auto sender this. DOM preferences, bid ask, show market by order tick boxes. DOM preferences, bid ask. No. Bid ask left. Show market by order. I don't see show totals, show histogram. Scale visible rows only. Only with rhythmic. There are others, so but it should be in general, or not that you say like, okay, shift key, that's all for positioning. Show toolbar. Do we need the toolbar? Likely not. Show quantity selector. Likely not, which means we could add another bar here, apply, so 30, and show order ticket window. We don't need that. Single order column. Oh, that was, yeah, like, so, okay, and let's get the other column. Oh, there are more columns. Ask. So that's an empty column. Add ask. So if we have add ask and there is an add bid, then technically, okay, they don't add up. I definitely need to look into that. So I think there's a lot of information in here in this one extra window. So PL is empty, PL price is empty, so we can get rid of that and get rid of that. And orders is empty because it's likely our orders. Bid delta, empty, bid empty. So we can get rid of that, whatever LTQ is. Bid to ask, okay, both of those are empty. So ask and bid to ask, which ask delta, no, orders, no, bid volume, no. Oh, bid volume is there. Oh, there it becomes interesting. So ask delta, no, and ask volume. Now technically, that needs to add up. So 3,500, which means the add bid and the, so we can get rid of that, and rid of that. So now we basically have the overall volume, but also see how much of it is basically buy and sell. Although it doesn't make sense. Where do we have the point now? Missing something. According to MotiveWave website, individual order data is only available via Rhythmic Broker. If using Rhythmic, that ticks box. Yeah, we don't have Rhythmic Broker here, so we're using bar chart, but we still have individual order volume here, so definitely. And just need to make sense of that, because technically ask would be I want to sell, and bid would be I want to buy. But technically it doesn't make sense that I have an ask price that's lower than the current market price, because if I want to sell, I probably would do it at the current price. Yeah, so need to look into that. But like here we would see nicely that apparently from that 37,000 volume, 5,000 is bid volume and 32,000 is ask volume. Yeah, so also doesn't make sense that anybody would want to buy above the current price. Yeah, so what's delta volume? Okay, there's also something. It's the difference between bid and ask on first glance. Yeah, looks like this. And yeah, nodes, market maker name. Yeah, we don't have that here, and nodes we also don't have here. Yeah, so may apply to our own positions. So the big question is basically, it would be great if we could somehow color this, that everything that's above the current market price is in some red and everything that's below in some green. So to make it visually obvious where we currently stand in terms of all of that. And I need to look into that, like, because obviously, so there would be the total volume, bid volume, ask volume, and we wouldn't need the delta volume in that case because it's obvious. Yeah. So, and by the way, Luke, thank you for also dealing with that whole thing and looking into it and trying to help me figure out how to set that up. Yeah, like once we, I mean, I also have the user guide open, yeah, but so that would be, yeah, I don't find anything in the user guide for bid volume or ask volume, and also in the volume analysis, bid, oh, there it happens. Bid volume is the volume that occurred traded at the bid price. This volume typically represents selling activity and is sometimes known as sell volume or down volume. Ask volume is the volume that occurred traded at the ask price. The volume typically represents buying, so vice versa. So bid, sell, ask, buy. Yeah, yeah. So delta is the difference. Yeah. And let's see there, where's next time? Imbalance, support line. Seeing this, it makes me glad for the data I get from Think or Swim, like time and sales and level 2 data. Yeah, like if you have a proper broker that provides that, like I really envy you. It's like, yeah, I think Motive Wave is super powerful in terms of what it can do. But yeah, definitely growing pains and trying to figure out how to set it up. And ideally, I applied at Mindtrade and at TR Army Trade for accounts, so at a Swiss broker and at one that actually, as far as I remember, also deals with Citadel, because they both would integrate with Motive Wave, and I would likely get the order book data maybe then also from those brokers, and I would likely be able to manage my positions, which for me personally wouldn't be that important. But it would also be nice in the streams because it would literally show, okay, I bought at this price and I closed at that price and so on, which would definitely be an additional valuable information for in the videos, yeah. And call and put volume, both about 75,000 today. Yeah, but that would be options, I guess, yeah, because overall volume today is, yeah, where's my volume indicator? Can you update, you stupid volume indicator? View, display, cursor, where's that thing? Cursor data window. Oops. Thank you. So once you are in full screen, the whole thing doesn't do what you want. Yeah, so view, display, cursor data window. Now it opens it on another screen, like you gotta be kidding me. Yeah. View, no cursor data window. Oh, there, cursor data. Yeah, there we go. That's what I was looking for. Yeah, so volume today, 2.3 million. So I assume you were talking about puts and calls in terms of options. And yep, so move that there. So actually we already have the, I wasn't sure if the 2.3 million that it mentions here are accurate for today, but yeah, we already have that here. And we still, do I see low and high and open and stuff like that? No, it's still, oh yeah, at some point. Yeah, so not perfect. So overall things could be better, yeah. And now if we compare that, not with the order book, but with the recent positions, yeah, it actually is quite a lot of information, like in terms of that there are so many small positions, 1 share, 2 shares. I need to look into volume if it's like really 1 share or if the one is like a multiple of it. But there are many chapters about volume, so the word shows up a couple hundred times in the whole document. Yeah, what was this window called? Time and sales. Okay, let's check motive wave. Time and sales. Yeah. Page 65. For convenience is available in the toolbar to toggle the display of display and alternatively choose blah blah blah. And it looks like there is a, need to switch. So it looks like there is a way to have it exactly like this, that you see the bid volume on the left, the ask volume on the right, and in the middle the green. And that would be the goal, so that we have in the middle the current price, and that would be obviously like apparently our position or something like that, but that we have in the middle like the current situation with like the bid volume versus the ask volume, and then here we have and that's profit loss for our positions apparently. So for our open positions, if the price goes here, we make this, and if the price goes there, okay, that would make sense. But for that we would have bid, ask, price. Now let's see if we can get that somehow together. Anyway, like still sideways movement. It's like do something. So instead of bid volume, we would have bid, which in our case is empty because that comes likely from a broker. But we have add bid, which shouldn't be. DOM section is page 174. I was looking in the section for time and what was it, time and sales, because I'm curious if that volume is really, if there's a 1 it says 1 share, or if there's a factor, like if it says 1 it actually is 100 shares. Yeah, so but yeah, thank you, because we're gonna change that one also to what, not 30, so that one, because here it's scaled again differently. Move that down, and then 30 should actually be fine, maybe a little lower. Yeah, so like this works. And yeah, 174, so it's like 213 pages, just the regular manual. But there the window is also set up with like orders, which doesn't show anything, and then bid, price, ask, but the problem is that we only have we don't have data for bid and ask. So if we have bid and ask, they are empty for us. So and the add bid and the add ask, they also don't make a lot of sense because they are not moving and they are not everywhere. So yeah, I'm gonna look into that further and then maybe bother the support of Motive Wave to figure out how that works. I think overall it's nice. We see like recent orders, so I assume that the bluish is for purchase and the red is for sale. So which would indicate just on first glance that there's a lot of buying going on. And then basically here, I don't know why this one here is highlighted and there's currently a change, but the yellow line still stays here. So yeah, definitely we'll have to do some configuration here. It's empty because Motive Wave only shows order data if you're using Rhythmic. I asked them already. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, but it still is order data. Like I'm not sure if we're talking. I mean, maybe the bid and the ask price are only showing up with, or maybe I'm not understanding what you're trying to say here. But the order book that we have here also reflects order data. Like not from one specific broker, but we see specifically, okay, there are currently, I don't know, like 5,568 bid positions or bids at this price, so the volume, and that many asks. Yeah, so, and which pretty much would be, which pretty much is the same information or not. Like, I don't see the difference there if it's, so in my opinion, it should be possible to have it like this, that you have the center line, which is the current price, and then above that you have the sell walls, and below that you have the buy walls, or buy orders that are like already scheduled, or so you wouldn't see market orders because they would obviously be executed at market price, but everything that's scheduled as a limit order, you should already be able to see, and therefore it should be possible to get this like that or not. Like maybe I'm missing something. Anyway, already more information than we had a couple days ago, so just gonna see, or have to see, if I lock that, what happens? It stops moving, okay, or no? Okay, it really stops refreshing if I lock that, okay. Although I can manually refresh it, then interesting. Now, if I close that, we can get it back just by clicking here, and that show orders. But we don't have orders since we don't have a broker integration. Yeah, but, and the chart is still updating, is it? 186.70. Which, by the way, if we're looking here, yeah, we can also tools. First of all, move those to the right spots, and second of all, then we can quickly have that labeled, and then tools line. So we're likely able to, yeah, not from here, and tools line may not be perfect from here, but yeah, or taking things, yeah, like from here it's a little bit harder, so probably so while not perfect, we're moving sideways, and eventually here should have a breakout. If we go on smaller time frames, so I'm going to remove those lines here, yeah, but if we go a little smaller from daily to hourly, we can pretty much do the same. Just, is there a shortcut? Yeah, that's line. So from here, and may not be working from here, but so So there should be some movement. Question is, that would be, yeah, by the end of the day or tomorrow. We should either have here or go there. Although if we break out on the upside, then it probably might happen today already, which would help us with those smaller wave degrees. Yeah. Market buy order is what I was referring to. Yeah, I still like, maybe I'm really just, I don't know, like standing on the, in German we would say like standing on the wire, so like just not receiving the signal, in that case. But technically, I mean, I think it's a UX issue. I don't think it's a data issue, because the data is there on the screen. Like we can see price levels and limit orders at that volume, or not. Haha. So that might not be the level 2 data that we were hoped to see, but that might actually be the volume, and that would actually make sense based on the descriptions that I read of executed orders. So because we see that the volume, whichever point we're at, the volume increases. So basically those are positions that got executed, yeah. And in that case, it wouldn't make sense to show it like I wanted to show, yeah. Still, in that case, that data is useful to find support and resistance levels. So because, for example, we see at 186.50, we have by far more volume than anywhere else near that area. Yeah, we probably should show more columns or more rows then, so we can scroll up and down a little bit. And by definition, because we have way more volume here, it would serve as a support or a resistance. Yeah, so, or we could expect to have a support or resistance here, because it seems to be a popular price level that people pick. So, and again, in 95% of cases with computer issues, the issue sits in front of the computer. I'm literally proving that day after day right now, yeah. And one might wonder how I can run an IT-related business. But yeah, so I'm gonna quickly check the 5-minute time frame, and yeah, like, so it doesn't seem like there's a lot moving. Technically, I think we could go as far as say we actually have this here, and I'm gonna get rid of that one, and also gonna get rid of that one, and so likely like this. Obviously, at the moment we're at a point where it's also possible that we go down here, which would be a very, very small bull flag here, so where we might see the breakout on top, which would also be what we are expecting based on assuming this is wave 2 of the smallest degree, and that is the start of wave 2 of a bigger degree, and that is the wave 3, and that is the start of wave 3 of an even bigger degree. Yeah. But yeah, so hard to say if something's gonna happen today. Like, obviously based on the triangle that we can put in there, where we have to see a movement, either it breaks below that trend line or it breaks above this trend line, which could be even longer if we started from, but then it would be slightly higher, so it would be, I don't know, we could even go back like this. So, which, yeah, like almost is a support resistance area, 196, 198, so close to 200. So, but basically either we go up there or we go down there. In any case, like the short-term prediction would be that I'm still not 100% sure if this is point 2 finally after their whole nightmare here. And I wouldn't be surprised if we have another drop into the 150 area to basically make this a nice corrective pattern. which would move our point number 2, which would then slightly change the profit target on this small time frame here a little bit. But yeah, I'm also, if we have here strong movement, especially if we go beyond, what did we have here, 200 I think, yeah. Now it's just showing the labels, so up, view, cursor data. 193, so if we go beyond 193, it would likely indicate that we are in this wave 3, and the same goes here if we go beyond 191, so up. That would be, that one was 195, so if we go beyond 195, it would likely confirm that we are in with this wave 3, and if we go beyond 192, quite similar actually, it would likely confirm that this is now that we're actually in wave 3 here as well. Other than that, it's still possible that this here turns into a 1, 2, 3. So especially if we don't go, or as long as we don't go above the 195 here, that this turns into the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That brings us down to 150. Yeah. Sorry for the confusion, historical versus level 2 would have been a better way to convey it. Level 2 is what is only available through Rhythmic, yeah? Like, yeah, no need to be sorry, it's not your fault, it's literally my own, yeah, like, I don't know, like, lack of understanding in that case. But yeah, like, so now we know that this is, question is if this volume is only from today, but I guess that we can check real quick if we somehow get the settings back, DOM preferences, and let's say we make this 1,000 columns. And today's high was 195 or so, 192, so because we started here, yeah. And so if we go up there, yeah, so we have here 191, and today's low was 184. Yeah, so it's only today's volume the way it looks here, yeah, so. But it already helps because we see, for example, that likely 185 would be a support, and yeah, so definitely still useful data, not as useful as level 2 data, but yeah, we'll have to live with that. Now, I'm gonna check for connections and see what else we can integrate then. And yeah, I think based on the lack of movement, which we're still enduring, I'm gonna call it a day for now. I don't know what time it is. Okay, 7. So anyway, a little bit longer than originally planned. I know we didn't change a lot. Not a lot happened. We basically spent a lot of time just clicking around in a new software. I like it so far. There are a few things I still need to learn about it. Overall, I think we are yeah, like better off this way because we have more information at our disposal, more tools to label Elliott waves, and from a price point perspective, it's if you don't need up-to-date data, so if you're okay to work with historical data, so likely up till yesterday, then it's similar price points. It's $159 for the Ultimate Edition of Motive Wave versus the comparable wave basis account would be $169. So Motive Wave would actually then be $10 cheaper. And if you end up with a broker or if you're using a broker that supports Motive Wave, so like TD Ameritrade or yeah, like Mindtrade in Switzerland, then you actually could manage your positions and everything from in here, which is really, really cool. Which kind of like gives you the extra edge if you would really try to date the traily swings, because you don't have to label something and then jump into your broker and try to execute it, but you could really do everything in one go. Yeah, so definitely worth a look. Now, I'm not sure if I will get to it today, but I will try to basically update our labeling in Motive Wave in terms of like from the monthly chart down, and will then hopefully tomorrow manage to provide a complete update post that also covers, there we have a candle up by the way, yeah, so that also then covers basically the mislabeling that I did, or we did, for a couple of days with that stupid endless long corrective pattern and the possible outlook. Now maybe by then we already will have a candle that confirms that we are more likely going up here. Maybe by then we will have a drop that confirms that the assumption that we go down is more likely. But yeah, overall the bigger assumptions or labeling still hold. So we're still waiting to go to 1,300 roughly to 1,500. And question is just which of the labelings I can come up with becomes true. So first another drop, and yeah, or we go up further, yeah, like so. And yeah, like Nuns with Gun says, for now we just gotta wait. Yeah, it's kind of boring. Like, I mean, we could look at other stocks during the stream and so on, yeah, and see what we find. But yeah, like maybe we do that tomorrow a little bit. So if there's still just boring sideways movement, yeah, just have to be patient. I mean, it's literally mentioned in the book, by the way, like if you cannot make sense out of the corrective pattern, then either try to use a higher time frame, which doesn't serve us for the stream, but which we already did, 1, 2, okay, this is wave 3, great, or just step away from the markets, yeah. So, or actually we had 1, 2, which is literally the same price point and wave 3, and so it's just about waiting for this to had to sneeze, saved you all from death or deafness. Hopefully push the button fast enough. If not, I'm really, really sorry that you're now all deaf. And yeah, and it's just a low volume, but patience makes it worth, yeah, I think, I mean, it's like, yeah, I can just wait. I mean, one thing that's nice is if we go and were to draw a trend channel here, then we basically already had our breakout from the trend channel and confirmation of that breakout, yeah. So if we were to have a trend channel, like, I don't know, cannot select that candle for some reason, oh, wrong element, so if we would have looked like this, a downward trend channel, then that actually would already indicate that it's very likely that we are out of that downward trend here. So not based on Elliott wave, but simply by using trend channels. And even if we have a drop to 150, that would still be, okay, that would, yeah, either that whole thing drags on further and the drop would then happen somewhere here. So it still stays outside of the trend channel, which would then be on the 12th of April. Yeah, that's a long, no, wait, that's 6 days from now. So, and there's a weekend in between. So still wouldn't be as bad, would be some boring days. But if that drop comes, it kind of like, considering the trend channel that we can make here, it would make sense that it would happen and stay above the trend channel, or that it briefly dips into the trend channel, but basically instantly with the next candle already goes out of it, yeah. And if that's not the case, then pretty much likely it will just go from here and follow those patterns, and within the next couple of days we should get one or the other, either the indication that it will come towards 150, we move our point 2 and we start wave 3 from here, or the upwards movement that confirms that we are already in wave 3 and we follow along. And that part should then be more fun again in labeling, because we shouldn't have like such long as corrective patterns like this one, March 26th till April 6th. It's like, yeah, like a lot of time. And yeah, so I'm gonna leave you guys. I'm gonna try to figure out what else I can tick or get out of this Motive Wave software to provide all of us with more information. And yeah, hopefully we'll write an updated post. I would assume that a software like this even has a nice, there's a camera icon, just wanted to say screenshot feature, yeah, save as image. So I think the biggest benefit is that I can literally label the monthly chart and then take a screenshot, and while I zoom in, I don't have to relabel or switch between charts, but everything stays as it is. It just shows different or hides wave patterns that don't make sense on that scale anymore, yeah. But yeah, so as always, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for holding GME shares and helping everyone else to kind of like buy up the float and yeah, reduce the supply of shares and therefore drive the price up. And yeah, with that, I'm gonna let you guys go. And yeah, guess that's it, unless somebody else needs something. But yeah, should we, as always, should there be a sudden movement up or something that's really significant, I would just quickly push a button and come live. Don't expect it. Now I'm conditioned already on this waiting stuff. And yeah, so, which likely is a flat, by the way. So it could be an ABC flat pattern simply because we have almost identical price levels here. Yeah, so could almost draw a trend channel here. But yeah, anyway, so don't forget, if you haven't already, like, definitely get the cheat sheet. That's the one page that is, in my opinion, the most useful one to figure out what to expect. So what kind of wave within wave and with what frequency they should show up. And from the Elliott wave book, that, as always, is for free online. If you haven't read the entire book, then you can still jump to page 86. There you pretty much have a summary of all the rules for each of the wave patterns. And you can then just focus on the rules and guidelines to confirm your waves. While you still might not know how to get to the profit targets and so on, or retracement areas, but that should already help you to, even if you haven't read the whole book, or even if you don't fully understand everything, yeah, because I for sure still need months before I feel secure with everything, probably maybe even longer. And yeah, so take the time when you get bored with that sideways movement and just look up the book. And even if you skip huge parts, page 86 in the book and the one-page cheat sheet should get you a long way. And even if you have everything invested in GameStop right now, also take the time and label other charts, because in GameStop we look at unique situations with some of the rules, but in other stocks, like yesterday I mentioned it in Palantir, for example, I'm not sure if I have it labeled here anymore. Nope, not monthly, but on daily. I think on daily. And yeah, like I think Palantir was one of the stocks that was beautifully to label. So just try to apply the patterns to other stocks as well, so you get a feeling for it, because I think it's one of the things where even if you theoretically understand it, it really will only start to make sense when you label it more and more and see the accuracy and see, like, okay, you did it right and it fell into the right area and your predicted profit target was hit and so on. Yeah, I'm just calling it a day because we have boring sideways movement, but short-term prediction, quick summary. Either, like, two options, zooming out a little, up. So that was the earnings day drop. We have one. We thought this is our wave two. Might still be, but most likely not. Yeah, and we assumed that our wave two is over here and we have wave three here because this is such a nice zigzag. But now we're in the spot where this is most likely our point two, and we have two options. Either the waves labeled here turn out true, which would require us to go beyond 193 and 195 to make this more likely, and we would move up, so the long sideways correction would be over. Or option number two is that this here will actually be the end of the correction, but we would still see another drop to roughly 150, and that would then move that point two here. So, and I think right now in this area here, both of them are almost equally likely. Doesn't change any of the overall predictions, but it's either it goes up from here already, and we would have slight or not full confirmation, but some sign of confirmation once we cross 193 and 195, or once we fall below 185 or below 180, we would have the confirmation that it's more likely that it will play out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and take us into the 150 area to make this a big A, B, C correction. So that, because that C is still a little short if it's A, B, C, yeah, if we label it like this. But yeah, so that's where we stand. Market is not moving really. And yeah, like I still have to look up some things and prepare hopefully a post for the subreddit and do some other stuff. And I guess you guys also have some other stuff to do other than watch low volume sideways movement. And yeah, so have a great day. As always, as mentioned before, thanks for tuning in. See you all tomorrow, same time, same place. Yes, tomorrow is still 30 minutes before market open. And yeah, I don't know how to pronounce that, Barrett. In case you're wondering why we have a different software now, if you check the first 10 minutes of today's stream, then you see the explanation what I'm using here and the difference to wave bases and so on. And that's it. So have a great day. Bye-bye.